do this.
Waiting for my phone to cooperate with me.
What do you guys think? My whole room now. Where the backdrop's my entire room. Isn't that crazy? We're all hanging out.
Got a nice background. Definitely
Thanks, man.
nicer.
I try way too hard. That's the thing. So definitely try hard on my setup.
Better to try too hard than
You think so? Sometimes it's like looks weird, but
on average.
thanks, guys. Thank you.
Okay.
It would.
Yeah. The DNA is here. This is like the DNA double helix, and then this is from my PhD actually. So the magenta is it's a microscopy photo that I took. Yeah, it's like the purple is the purple autofluorescence of the chloroplasts of the algae, and then the blue right here is the dye bound to the single-walled carbon nanotube. And it was dye bound to an oligonucleotide, a 30 base pair oligonucleotide, and then this is the confocal together. So where the magenta and cyan overlap is white. So that means that there was like a colocalization event, which shows that the DNA got into the chloroplast. So yeah. So my wife made it for me. I had like some abstract art, which was people came in and was like, "That's very dude of you. Did you pick out that art?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "What's wrong with abstract art?" They're like, "Okay, it's just like very dude of you." I'm like, "All right, whatever." I don't know what that means, but okay.
How do we join in? I don't see like the thing on the side that says like.
Thank you, Dr. T. Yeah, it's hard for. There you go. Boom. One more time, dude. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I was just saying. You remember we tried to join in last time. Like we hit a button on the side, to like be part of the TikTok line.
Yeah, exactly.
Invites you to join live. Okay.
I just invited you. Someone in my. Oh, perfect. Nice prime. It says that you're joining, and you're in. Nice.
Am I in?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Okay. Great. Thank you.
So I just muted you, and then again, your stuff is going to come through my setting, so you'll be fine. And then there you go, Corey. And then we just need Corey. Oh, thank you, Ambi.
And also,
I am about to go live there. Yeah, I do the same. So
I haven't done.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah. I can send you an invite actually.
Okay, I'm setting that up right now.
Live. Yeah.
Cool. So then I go live. I'll go live on here. Sick. Sweet, guys. We're all paneled up.
Yeah. Description. High definition.
Corey, you're not in my panel yet. We invited you, but you didn't join. There you go. Nice. Perfect.
He's not really a joiner. This guy. Oh. Okay. Well, I started my Twitch stream. Let's see. Stream together. Corey, are you already live?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Guys, I need you, please share this. We are trying something new and fun for TikTok panels, debate panels. Please share. It really helps us get to a lot of people. That's how so many of you found us quickly. It really helps us get out to a lot of people right now. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Okay.
I think the panel might perfect.
Okay, so we're gonna add.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for coming in. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you. Normally we are doing the Dr. Greg show at this time, but instead we are special guests, Corey and Prime, my friends from the internet, my friends from Twitch world. But we are trying to do a science-based panel. So Prime does some of the best Twitch debates panels out there. And Corey is this fellow scientist. So we're trying to bring the elevate the debate discourse a little bit, have some interesting expert topics. And
Hey,
yeah,
Corey.
we can get good and going right here.
Corey can't. Sorry, I'm about to say your name like you don't know. But Corey, are you live right now? Because I don't see you up, at least from this thing. No. I Corey can't wait for. Like I sent you. I'm trying to send you an invite, and it's like whatever reason it's not coming up.
Oh, I got a note.
Okay.
Academy.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't know.
Okay. Hold on. Maybe it might just be easier just to do this. If we go to stream together, copy, I'm going to put this in the chat. You can click on this link and just join in. That's the invite.
Oh no!
Like, it always fights me on these things.
Sorry guys, 1 second. We were just getting some technical stuff all set up. Dude, that's crazy. Thought I was streaming with Atrium to Twitch this entire time, but I haven't. I haven't streamed to Twitch in 11 days. That's good to know.
And Dr. Greg, whenever you want to, you can click on that link as well. You should be able to join in as well. Let me know if you have any issues.
Okay, sick. Let's do that.
Yeah. You're there. Yeah. Mute.
Okay, cool.
Okay, great.
How about that?
Yeah.
We'll just do that, and then I'll just and then I don't know what the video is doing on my end. This is fine for me. This is perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I'm hearing you double. Let me a second.
So do you want my audio through the Twitch or through the StreamYard?
Twitch. Yeah, mute yourself there. Just StreamYard works. Yeah.
Roger. Okay. Muting on Twitch, audio through StreamYard. Roger.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Corey, test.
I hear you. I don't.
Okay, great. Are we ready to go?
Yeah, we are ready.
Okay.
Yeah, it's open. If anyone wants to come in, they can. We can hear all of you as well. Nice. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Sweet, guys. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Take it away, Prime. Do you have something to do?
Okay, yeah, sure. Hello all. Back again. This is our second stream together. We were here last week. Anti-MAHA Headquarters. I'm not sure if we're gonna stick that name or not. We're just testing it out.
I like it for now. Obviously, I'm open.
You like it? Okay. All right. Yeah, great. If you guys, everyone likes it, but we'll stick with it. But in any case, so we are, kind of a tag teaming here, using all of our different areas of expertise or knowledge and talking about issues specifically, like looking at like what RFK is up to, honestly, but not just that, right? We're kind of expanding this to other parts of current events and politics, and like seeing how things are kind of falling apart out there. So we're having a good time. Like last time, I think we had like a great discussion. Like we had like just only like 2 or 3 topics, but we went on for like 2 or 3 hours, just talking, riffing on these different things. And the best part was when we had individuals like you, yes, you sitting at home, join in, right? So through TikTok, if you're on Dr. Gregory's channel, I'm saying that because I'm also streaming. So if you're wondering how to join, go to Dr. Gregory's TikTok for now. I don't. My TikTok doesn't work. I can't live yet. But you can through Dr. Gregory's. It's Dr. underscore Gregory or Greg. Sorry,
Dr. Greg Show.
Dr. Greg Show. Yes. On TikTok, if you're watching anywhere else, and if you want to call in, we'd love to have you. But yeah, so Dr. Greg and Corey have incredible medical expertise, and we'd love to hear their thoughts on this. Or they'll obviously give you their backgrounds. But yeah, for me, I have an IT background, and I've been streaming for a while, and I'm deep into politics, leftist politics. My name is Prime Kai, PRIMECAYES. Love to have you. Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok now. Yet to put a video, but I will soon. So anyway, that's where we are right now. Corey, do you want to?
Yeah, and I echo all this last week. But yeah, I'm sciences, math. Yeah, I love talking about anything science. My bias is science communication, and how I'm on X, M, TikTok, Substack, Corey Campbell. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Hmm?
I am Dr. Greg. I've done molecular biology for 16 years. I genetically modify organisms for a living, basically. And I have a microbiology PhD and done work with nanotubes and algae and yeast and just making as much protein as possible from a cell, you know? And yeah, so I would love to discuss and figure out how we can go forward and create forward movement in regards to fighting back against all this onslaught against science. You know, that I think that's the biggest thing is that it's easy to feel so down and it's easy to, you know, because we are being attacked. Science as an institution is absolutely under attack right now from the Trump administration by the MAGA and MAHA and all those whatever they want to say they are. But all you know, at the end of the day, it's anti-intellectualism, and the reason why they're coming for science, just like they're coming for medical science, is you know people are figuring out how to understand the world, and they don't need to they don't have to ask permission from Trump or RFK in order to know that something's safe or not. And I think that that's why they're coming for science as an institution, and we have to back them up. And it's actually been really cool. The I just got a message today from a primary care provider, you know, an MD that watches my show and loves the defense of science, and he feels like attacked just like I do as a PhD, you know. So as scientists, Corey and I, you know, we are uh, being lumped in with the disinformation campaign just as MDs and DOs and physicians and nurses and public health workers are too. So I think it's awesome to have people like fighting back, and the support has been amazing. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So yeah, we want to be optimistic. However, it's we have more bad news, of course. So Corey, do you want to do that story that you had introduced? Yeah.
Yeah. Currently, our as an much like changing the status of professional. At I have uh I there's cap in professional professional included in there. Yeah,
Dude, I saw that. Give me a break, bro. It's like this like turning the knife. Like, give me a break.
yeah. Like I had I was a nurse.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife is going for
Major
her
ramifications. I assume, but I hope not. I hope ramifications already calculated.
for real. Yeah, my wife's going for a DMP right now, and it's just like, what did she's just like, what did I do wrong? Tried like I spent how like 7 years as a RN, and then went through all these like all these classes. Like it's just it I don't know. I had to tell her, be like, hey, I see you as legitimate, like, and it's just very weird. I honestly have no idea why they would do it, other than there's like some Project 2025 stuff that was like, I don't know, pushing it, and I don't know. I have no idea. Gilberto, thanks for joining, man. Do you have any thoughts on the reclassification of nurses as a non-professional profession?
Yeah, hi guys. No, I don't. I just kind of popped in here just to see what this is about. But
Okay,
I
cool.
actually had a question for Corey. Just I got to know it a little bit more. I won't take much of your time because you want to talk about this topic. But
Whatever.
Oh no,
I'm running.
we're here for it.
Yours.
Hmm?
Cool, cool, cool. I'm currently writing a paper about the current decline of American communities, meaning like third spaces, that type of stuff. You kind of see people more just at home on their phones instead of like going out and socializing. Do you agree? And like, do you have anything else to add about that?
Yeah. So definitely a lot of talk. Uh, there's church uptick at curiosity. I don't actually know. I find in spaces aspect, but in that vein, and like definitely aspect. I've seen Gen Zers are part of that is I can tell gym have like a cafe and
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I had a big one of like my big bodies a paragraph was about the health aspects of isolation as well.
Hmm.
So I was taking some like journals from like Vivek H. Murthy. I believe I forget what he is, but he's a pretty big part. But he said there was a lot of like, health risks, like, prolonged periods of isolation is like heart attacks or dementia. But I guess if you have the gym, I guess that would counteract with that. And yeah, it would just, you would have that community as well.
potentially. Obviously, there's a positive aspect, whether it actually definitely positive impacts on. not
Yeah.
surprise me.
No. Someone here just said it. Yeah, the Surgeon General. Just keep in mind, my background is just college student right now, and I'm just
Mhm.
writing papers just for my generals right now.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's but yeah, thank you so much. Do you have any like positive like I guess you said the gym, but like anything else that shows that we're being more social, or that like there is like kind of hope for more communities and connections, like in the future?
I think there's an attempt. That's why. And I also see,
Mhm.
I think the all attempts on interacting face actually no, I don't actually. I think slowly over time, I also tell that Gen Z hated
Yeah.
I use
Yeah. I mean,
just
in
like
terms
Yeah.
of
and one last thing also sort of like way I potentially see out is dating apps. Dating apps game when Tinder came around revolutionized. Now I think that portion of people on negative reaction uh done with it not to do they wanted that and like portion of I suspect and hope that Gen Z will have sort of not totally not to be as tied to
I definitely agree about the dating apps for sure. But yeah, just to close it up too,
Mhm.
just kind of related back to Dr. Gray. I'm in college, and yeah, I think any medical profession is essential, and I don't know why they changed that. It
That's
just
very
kind of like, what's if I'm in the middle of like doing my degree, and then I want to go into like a medical field, and they're gonna cut my salary, and I'm not like what was the word, like not essential, but
yeah.
what are they claiming as
Well,
Professional.
non-professional.
professional?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
understand. It's obviously a
yeah,
profession.
like as someone like in the college right now, like if I wanted that opportunity, um and I saw, yeah, if you wouldn't be making as much money as you used to, you know that's a big throwaway. But hopefully there's like you know hope that we have professions like that come back to professional, or like they're that was a mistake. I don't understand that. But have a good night, guys, and
Thanks,
take
man.
care.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, dude, I think that there is a huge problem with, third spacing for I've completely changed like jujitsu, and doing jujitsu in the last 2 years has like completely changed that for me, where it is that like that space for me where you can spend time, you can go to classes, you can meet a bunch of new people that are outside your social group. And then also just kind of like grappling with someone that you don't know is kind of interesting because it's like a consent based thing and they're all over you, like it can be kind of overwhelming, like having someone's like sweat just like drip on your face, and like it's just kind of weird, and but
that is
it
a
it
connection.
yeah, dude, it is exactly, it really is, and it didn't make sense to me how weird it was until I started doing it with doing jujitsu. My wife does jujitsu, so like we were going through some positions, and I was like, oh yeah, what's it? The stack pass here. How does that feel? And then I was like, oh, that's this position. Like I didn't think about that when it was like a 200-pound dude that was pinning me to the ground, and like I was fighting for my life. But now with you, I can actually I'm starting to understand why this is a little weird. Um, but it's really it blows my mind, man, how how fun it is, and then also how meeting new people, like, I won't know their names or anything, but like the connection that you have with that stranger now is honestly, so much more even though than some like friends that I've had for up to like 10 years or like, it could because you're really exposed there and like kind of showing who you are and like you're really pushed up against the, sometimes and it's like, do I fold in this scenario or do I fight back? And like you're not necessarily getting into those positions with acquaintances or friends or anything like that often, but like in jujitsu, you're pushed into those positions. Like you are pushed up against the wall and it's like do you fold or do you not? Do you fight back or do you not? Like what are you gonna do? And um it's been it's been a really, really fun experience.
Yeah, I have addicts somewhat my area
Mhm.
ever. And 50, I live in so fun. Has like I did much more. Uh, Now there's my point.
Mhm.
There's now not just gyms,
Yeah.
but like the bouldering, like now number of them that like cafe have the bouldering wall, like
That's cool. That's chill.
yeah, and like of the dozen or so times that I tries, uh,
That's cool.
other bouldering, you probably
For real.
have to
Or
kind of
that's
invest in.
just like dude, hit the little that dude, coffee and activity is always a good time, and that's like that's cool because then you're bouldering, so you're not belaying in, and you're not like
Yeah,
getting. Oh, okay, so that's way more chill. Rapture, welcome in. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hi.
Thanks for doing this awesome panel. It's amazing
Sweet.
having all of these experts, scientists, IT specialists at our fingertips. It's amazing.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
was gonna talk about how I meet people, and
Yeah.
these days my interests are pretty niche. I'm obsessed with native plants. So, Dr. Greg, you know this already. So,
Yeah.
I live in California. So, my particular obsession is California native plants. But I'm here on TikTok trying to get people to plant indigenous plants wherever they are. And the other way that I meet people is, well, I don't know if I want to I'll count TikTok as a way that I meet people.
Sure.
But I meet people volunteering at a native plant conservancy that's in my area, and I meet a lot of people that way. And
Mhm.
then going to Native Plant Society plant hikes. That's another way that I meet people. And then the other way is dating apps,
Mhm.
because I do have success with dating apps, and I'm not a Gen Zer.
Mhm.
I'm 50, but
Okay. Dang.
dating apps for me have been a great way to meet people.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can I ask which apps are you on? If you'd be so kind to share that.
Sure. Sure. I don't mind talking about them. I'm on Hinge and Bumble.
Okay.
And
Okay.
only if you want to say, because if I've never used Bumble, but from what I understand, there's Bumble and there's like Bumble Friends or Bumble some version that's like just for friends.
Yeah, I haven't used Bumble Friends. I've only used Bumble Dating, and I'm queer, but I'm equal opportunity when it comes to dating people. And for a while, I had chosen men as who I was interested on the app. I just thought I would focus on that first. And I just recently opened it up to all genders, and I haven't had that many new people show up, which is weird. I just wonder if it's like a dead zone in my area because I live in, kind of a small town. But yeah, I can't speak to Bumble Friends, but the dating app itself, both that and Hinge, um, I've met a lot of cool people. I've met friends. I've made friends with people that way.
Nice.
And I used to use Craigslist maybe 15
I
years
remember
ago.
Craigslist. That's
Yes.
way back.
And I made friends that way too.
There you go. So Rapture,
I
you're
mean,
just kind of like you.
people that were hookups that became friends.
It seems like you're very like courageous. You're going into these new places and really putting like trying them out, like trying these new ways of meeting people, and like also kind of going back to the old school, like let's go to a club and a interest, a hobby club, and then trying that
Yes.
out too. I think that that's a good way, kind of having a physical activity that you can like team build together is so fun. I feel like
Yes.
that's so like innate to us as humans is working together as a team in order to figure out a problem or solve something, and giving back to something that's bigger than yourself. That's kind of like what Corey's talking about with going to a gym. You're kind of like helping each other be healthy at the same time of also like a good productive friend that can get you out of the house. I love those ideas.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I've made hiking buddies this way, which then reinforces the social loop, because then when there's another Native Plant Society hike, I can talk to one of my buddies and say, hey, do you want to go to this other
Yeah.
hike with me? And then you broaden. And actually both groups, the Land Conservancy and the Native Plant Society, the local chapter, they each had happy hours as get-togethers within like the same week, locally. And that was another way to get to meet more people with similar interests. And my interests are, I can talk about a couple of other topics, but my interests are pretty constrained, and I really only want to talk about native plants. So it's the perfect opportunity to be in like at a happy hour with people who are also
Exactly.
likely to be obsessed with that topic.
Dude,
It's a good way to stay on track.
I love it. And it's such a good way to also be a big impact on your local community. Like everyone just kind of planting indigenous plants and caring about that. And the Rapture goes on walks and she's like giving out scientific names for things. It's incredible. The clips that she posts are like expert level knowledge on plant identification for sure.
Oh,
I'm just
thank
curious
you.
if you want to say, because I don't actually know what, even though I have a biology background, my plant biology is like awful. But if you want to say, how did you get into native plants, or like how are native plants different from what? Yeah, I have no conception of native plants or what that means. But I'm
Oh,
just
this is
curious
great question for you, Rapture.
That's a lot like a lot of other. Oh, I know. Now I get to talk more about.
Yeah, please.
So that's a really common question, and I used to not have any idea what a native plant was either. So a native plant is unique in that they are indigenous to each different areas of the world. Their native plants are indigenous to different areas of the world, and I'd like to draw a comparison to humans. Humans, for instance, are one species. For all of our superficial differences, we're one species, right? And you find us on practically every continent in the world. And wherever a human is, whichever continent that is, you're still a human in that zone. We're only one species. But when it comes to plants, you have about 200 and I think 80,000 plant species in the world. That's not counting, lichen and algae and stuff like that. I think that's just plants, vascular plants. And you may have an area like California that has 6,000 native plants, and there might be about 3,000 of those that are endemic to California, meaning they occur in California and literally nowhere else in the world. So if you're in Madagascar, if you're in California, if you're in Arizona or New York State, there are plants that exist there that are nowhere else in the world. And there are pollinators that have evolved to be with those plants, sometimes really specific interactions. Like you have Hespera yucca whipplei, chaparral yucca in California, and I think some Southwest states. Is really dramatic, spiky plant. Sends up a really like an 8-foot tall spire of white flowers. And there's this yucca moth that the only plant that it can grow its caterpillars on. So that's came out strangely, but only plant that the hosts that moth is the chaparral yucca. So if that species were to go extinct, that moth would go extinct.
Mhm.
And so it just sort of highlights how important biodiversity is and how there's this web that connects, you know, different types of fungus, mycorrhizae that lives under the ground that connects different plants to each other and, you know, helps the plants to uptake nutrients. Like all of these connections happen around the world, but we tend to, as humans, at least in Western society, we tend to kind of screw things up by transplanting a lot of plants from one area into another without a regard for the plants that exist here in the space that you're in. And when you do that, you tend to then start to lose habitat for the native species, and you start to lose native species as the habitat shrinks. You start to lose species, then you know, it's a cascade effect.
Mm-hmm.
So one really small concrete way that individuals can contribute to protecting biodiversity is to plant native plants in your yard or in a nearby park, or volunteer at a local land conservancy, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But just planting native plants in your yards makes a huge difference. And you can have, you know, residential tiny gardens all across the United States, for instance, that then hook up with the pollinators, and individuals can really make a substantial impact locally.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially for migrating insects and stuff like that. So like monarchs and milkweed, that kind of stuff. I mean, it makes
Mm-hmm.
a big difference because
Yes.
their migrations aren't in one fell swoop. Like it takes several generations in order to make the migration for insects. So having transient plants that they can like breed and then live and then
Right.
come out and
Right.
it allows that succession, that daisy chain of successions to happen. And it's so big, and you're so right, Rapture. It's not, I love how you were talking about how it's like the symbiosis and the evolution with the insects and the plants, and that's actually something that's been disrupted, right, with climate change, and how plants aren't necessarily sprouting and flowering at the correct time. So it creates this problem that the insects and the plants and the pollinators aren't all showing up at the same time at the same month, and so it's something that's having a big impact.
Yes, I have seen that firsthand, and you know, I do plant. I haven't been doing it recently because been focused on my TikTok videos, but I do plant observations and post them on CalFlora, which is different than iNaturalist. It really focuses only on plants, and it has really great observations and really great data that pulls in from iNaturalist. Anyway, I post to CalFlora, and I'm always noticing the phenology, the bloom periods of the different plants that I'm observing, you know, because you'll put in that data whether or not the plant was blooming and what the month was. And then you can compare that to this CalFlora database. I'm not sure if iNaturalist has that data in an easy spot to see for each species. And then there's this resource called the Jepson Manual or the Jepson eFlora, which is connected to UC Berkeley.
Hmm.
And the Jepson Manual and eFlora are connected to the Jepson Herbarium, which is this huge repository of plant specimens in California. And they also have data on the months of flowering for these different plants. And right now, like there's a Dudleya species, which is it's called a live forever. It's a native succulent. So California doesn't have that many succulents. They do have some succulents in the desert, but like the rest of California, succulents are not, you don't really see cactus in most of California. So this is one of the few succulents that you have occur natively in California, and its bloom period is usually in the spring. It goes dormant in late summer and fall, and then it perks up with the winter rains, and then it blooms these gorgeous red and yellow iridescent tiny little flowers. And the one at my mom's place where I used to live and where I have a bunch of native plants, it's in a container, and she gives it a little bit of water to keep it from completely going dormant because it's in a container. And the plant actually, this summer was so cool that for some reason the plant decided it was time to bloom. And in the late summer, early fall, it actually bloomed, which is I've never seen a Dudleya bloom at that time ever. It's so bizarre to see it happen. That not only did it start to bloom, but like the blooms actually are like on their way through, like completing, they're, you know, getting pollinated by the hummingbird, but the bees that would normally be there aren't around right now. They're already going into their like winter dormancy kind of periods. So the hummingbird is there, but the other pollinators aren't around. It's so bizarre. Yeah, climate change is nuts. I
Interesting.
can already see the effects, and I don't know what direction it's going to go in.
Wow, that's
For the
incredible that
plants.
you have such an intimate knowledge of the plants, that you're actually seeing that yourself already. That is crazy. I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I mean, the birding community is another one where it's like they can see vast changes in migration patterns already with birds and
Oh,
stuff.
really?
Yeah, especially in the UK. There's like a huge, really um, strong and long history of like birding as a hobby. And so in the UK, people are tracking migration patterns and all that kind of stuff, and you can already see it change. It's yeah, it's pretty spectacular. A lot of the hobbyists are doing it like out of passion, right? And they love it so much. That's why they're jotting this down. That's why they're building up again, building to something that's bigger than themselves. You know, that's the whole. That's what humans do best at, and that they're scientists. They're making observations constantly, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing to see what dedicated volunteers can do.
Yeah. Yeah, the eBird community is pretty amazing. They collect a lot of data.
Hmm.
I know that there's hotspots near where I live, and people are always collecting data for that.
That's awesome.
But what, Corey, did what I say about native plants make any sense?
Yes, absolutely. You very thoroughly answered my question. Very impressed. Yeah, you definitely are a wealth of knowledge on native plants. Can't deny that.
Is
Nice.
that so? Now that I described it, so I'm trying to figure out what hooks people and what can interest them in planting native plants. You know, sometimes where they live, not everybody has ground that they can plant in. Assuming that you have ground you can plant in, does that pique your interest at all when it comes to growing like a native species, or does it still seem like an abstract
Uh,
concept that
it depends on what you mean. If you mean like, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm misunderstanding you, but you know, you understand you have an interest in like, either growing native plants like in the area. You're not concerned with like people growing native plants in their homes, but like, I'm all in favor of like having just more plants in general, just in any areas, including cities. But if you're
Are
talking about,
you,
yeah,
if you were going to make a garden though, would you be more or less likely to plant native plants now?
uh, since I would have to consult their expertise on what a native plant is to my area
Yeah,
for like actually,
exactly.
right?
That's exactly the right answer.
But
Yeah, because
I'll,
everyone's going to have different
that's
native plants. Yeah,
and
uh,
exactly.
you know you can do that. You can do that by googling native plants in blank, and you say your county or your
Mhm.
town or your state, and look for a native plant society in your area or your province, wherever you know it is that you live. And
Mhm.
there are native plant societies that sometimes they'll have local chapters, but they usually will have, you know, um, a master list of nurseries or of native plants that are common to your area, or of seed starting lists, something like that, that'll teach you how to, like, where to get started in that. And,
Yeah.
hummingbirds or monarchs are a good example of that, because so many people are in an area where there's hummingbirds or monarchs, at least in the States. And I always encourage people, like, instead of a hummingbird feeder, to actually Google native plants in my area for hummingbirds, because that actually, those bloom times coincide with the native migratory range of those hummingbirds. So the hummingbirds historically only are in your area if their nectar plants are available. So by planting a native species to your area that's been there for millions of years, the hummingbird whose species has been coming to that same area for those flowers for millions of years knows to come because you've got that plant in your yard. So that's another way of, instead of feeding them sugar water, you can give them much better tasting nectar through a native plant. That's kind of like, that was sort of a gateway for me with native plants, was hummingbirds, and seeing hummingbirds come to my little, they used to hover in front of my window in the middle of Los Angeles. I lived in Koreatown, a really dense neighborhood in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a hummingbird that would hover in front of my window, and I felt like it was trying to tell me something. And I started off with a hummingbird feeder thinking maybe it was hungry, and I ended up getting into native plants and planting nectar plants for it. It was it's very satisfying feeding a wild creature like that.
That's very cool. That is wild. There you go. In generations, they'll say your name.
Yeah, that's right.
They'll do
Well,
thousands of honeybees will do the waggle dance into then.
That's right. That's right. The hummingbirds will let me know. Yeah. The chat is, I'm just now looking at the chats. Yes, somebody in the chat said those hummingbird feeders have to be cleaned out so often so that they don't harm the birds.
Oh,
Which is true. And you don't have that problem really when you've got the flowers, because the flowers only last a handful of days.
that's a really good point. Dang, it's like a natural cleaning. That happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice. That's
There's
cool.
probably antibacterial properties in a lot of the plants and the flowers too.
Mm-hmm.
It might be best if we moved on.
Okay. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you, Rapture. Thank you
can
for
put me down. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you so much. On the note of third spaces.
Yeah.
I'm not like the person to ask about that in general. I don't even have a second space since I like work from home. So it's like, but I think it's an interesting topic in general. I liked that Rapture person had found her very hyper specific like group, like that. Like seriously, like that gives me hope for me. Like I don't have trouble socializing, and like my interests aren't so specific. But still, like the efforts to find people to who know you, right? Who can understand you, who are interested, who get excited about the things that you do. I mean, that's like a gift. So I'm very happy for Rapture that she did find that. Because it can be so hard. But the point is that it's great that like that is a thing that exists, and I like these groups are being created, and I think that for a lot of people, I'm relating this to the conversation about social media, right? I think there's a correction that's happening, right? And we see this in societies all the time. So that like we lean into some trend or fad. Like social media is not a fad; it's more than that. But like we lean into a certain direction, and then like the next generation oftentimes corrects for that at some point. And we can see like how people are so excited for social media and its possibilities and its ability, being like techno enthusiasts, thinking, oh, this will be the new way that we interact and it'll open things up for us. But instead, we've seen that the opposite. We've been isolated. So people came in here asking about the third spaces. Like there's been an attack on third spaces from all fronts, and I think we never even defined third spaces. Like I like for
True.
people who don't know what it is, but like a third space, and someone could tell me if they disagree with this definition. Right, the first space and second space are like your home and your work, right? But third space is just where do you go after that, right? In between those moments, where are you hanging out? And this is especially important when we're talking about children, because it's a great place time to socialize, interact, and make friends, and just like have like great experiences that are outside of those structured environments. Well, hopefully structured, hopefully home is structured. But like it is it's important, but like those things are shrinking. For kids, we've taken away their spaces. Like we've shut down malls. We've shut down things that are aimed at like teenagers. We've told teenagers to stay away. Honestly, that's like a big issue. And even for adults, adults are finding it hard to find places to be. Right? Like maybe there's bars, but not everyone wants to be at a bar. And so like finding these hyper specific things are important, or not necessarily hyper specific, but like finding those places. And I also would encourage people. I'm rambling a bit, so don't worry, I'll end very soon.
Not
I would encourage people to like also like create groups. Like if the thing. Like if was it Rampage? Or sorry, what was their name? Sorry,
Rapture, I believe.
Rapture, Rampage. I'm sorry. I mean, I hope that wasn't offensive. It sounds pretty heavy metal to me. I don't know. So, Rapture. But like, imagine, like, you could easily imagine her not being able to find this thing, right? To find a group of people who like have that deep love for this specific topic. It would be great if someone like her or her, right, like created that, in that moment. I think all of us kind of give up, and like I can't find these people. I guess just might not exist. Maybe we aren't interested. But sometimes it's just worth it to make it yourself, right? There's like, it was a meetup.com or something. There's a like where you could like create groups and you can make groups and like find groups. Like I was exploring these things years ago, looking, just to socialize. Like I remember like becoming an adult and like wondering, like, all right, like I've reached this milestone. I'm very excited that I've gotten here, right?
Yeah.
Now what? Like, I don't know what to do. Myself, I don't drink, and so bars aren't a place for me to go. So I'm like, okay, so other than that, and I don't like clubs. I tried that, and well, not for me. So other than that, where do I go? What do I do? And I had a hard time answering that question. And so like trying to find that space for me was always very difficult. So the point is that I'm happy Rapture was able to find her space, and I know so many other of you are looking for your space as well. It's out there, and if it's not out there, let's say maybe you're extremely hyper specific, right? Maybe you're all about like the wanting to talk about like the current news on upholstery. Like what's going on in the wild crazy world of upholstery? I don't know, maybe, right? But if that's the case, I'm sure you can actually create that space and like grow it yourself. And because I'm sure a lot of other people would feel the same way. Right.
Bro, it's crazy, like the amount of people that are hyper specific but do like a really good job on TikTok, and they have these crazy niches that are just super specific, but they're so authentic and they're fun and their videos are engaging. And I saw one with like 1.2 million followers the other day, and I was like, who would watch this? And it's only like this very specific, very, I forget what it was, where it was so but the person was just magnanimous, and you couldn't stop watching. And it was a really, it's such an interesting thing right now, especially in the internet. Like, you would think that everyone is that everyone's creating now. That's kind of like what the feeling is, that everyone has a YouTube channel or everyone has a TikTok, but it's actually the amount of viewers to content creators is actually way, way, way on the side of viewers, because so many people are watching now, and an even smaller amount of people are creating content now. That, like, if you have a passion and you have that niche and you have like an expert level knowledge on something, like genuinely creating a TikTok, like trying to put videos out there that you love, and that's the key. That's really key. Like, you're gonna go out there and you're gonna make videos to like no viewers for a little bit, and that's okay. That's actually really okay, because um, you're gonna make content that you're proud of, and so then the viewers don't really matter, actually, right? So you're just making content for yourself. And when I started in 2021, I literally had, I think they still do have, like, literally 0 views. When you have 0 views on YouTube, it says they write it out for you. They don't even put 0, they write it out for you just to like twist
No
the
views,
stat.
yeah.
No views, like, that's it. Like, dude, like, at least give me a number. You're not even good enough for a number yet, dude. Like, they're like, no, we gotta write this out so this person understands there are
The bots
no
aren't even
views.
interested.
Yes, dude. Like,
I
how
know the
embarrassing
feeling.
is that? So it's awful, dude. It's awful. But like, it's genuinely, though, you're like, you're proud of it. That's why it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So even
I
even
just
some
want
of
to
my
add to that
go ahead.
tiny, because you talked about like if you have expert level knowledge, but actually I don't think you even need that, right? Because I think, like, hey, like, let's again, we'll use our friend Rapture for an example. Let's say she's just getting into the hobby, or however you define that, right? The interest, right? Um, and she doesn't know a lot, but still she's like really interested, really motivated, and wants to share. Well, I think there, a good channel would be like her on her journey, right? Her journey to understand these plants, right? Like, oh, look what I learned today, right? I just learned this thing. I was looking into it about like the plants, in my local area, and like this is super interesting. I want to explain it to you, and she does it with all the passion that she was clearly like, expressing to us. Um,
Mhm.
Previously, like that's like good enough. Like I think what Dr. Greg was saying, like the thing that interests people, like random people who aren't within these niches, is just the individual, right? Like Dr. Greg, I think, is an engaging person, right? Like if he has an interest, and he makes a fun video, yeah, I'd watch it. Like, why not, right? I'd watch it from anyone. Like if anyone who's passionate and can communicate fairly well, they can get a following there, right? Especially on platforms such as this. So again, like, so I guess as to what I was saying before, like, even if you're not creating a physical space, like even this virtual space, if you're looking for people to share and to connect with, not a bad idea. So
Yeah, no, exactly. And TikTok is honestly really amazing for putting your stuff in front of new eyes. Like, the YouTube is specifically very, very hard to get into. Shorts
mm.
are obviously really good, but genuinely, I think that TikTok, the difference and why that it is so amazing, is that they really do give every like new account kind of like that chance to go viral. So like, if you put
Mm.
like in some care into your first couple of videos, they're gonna shop it. Like, so I mean, it's easy to get up, maybe up to like 10,000 views on your first couple of like videos on TikTok, like genuinely, because they're shopping it around, seeing within the algorithm who likes it, what's gonna happen, who likes it more. So they really try to push you out and to make you go viral. I think that's the difference between like TikTok and the other platforms, is that it seems to be like you have to kind of, as a content creator, kind of like go out there, and you have to do more work I think on YouTube, especially in Twitch, notoriously is like the worst. So you got
Yeah,
like
yeah.
unless you are like on the carousel, like there's no way that someone's just gonna go through just chatting and just like find you, on the thing.
Especially if you're all the way at the bottom.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like nobody, and because people think like, oh, there's a reason why you have no views. So it sucks. It sucks, and but um, that's why YouTube is kind of like that repository. I feel like, and then the TikTok is kind of like the live thing, that's the way to actually meet people. And I think the lives, I've never seen anything like the lives on TikTok, and then specifically the ability to bring people on and the guest feature and like meeting people that way with basically built-in chat, built-in voice chat, and I think it's just really cool. It's just a really really cool thing.
Um, so do we want to get back to the topic we're working on?
Sure. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than like I think that it's awful that they are, making them non-professional. I think it's a huge, basically the Trump administration's reclassification of these nurses and everything is just kind of like a pretty uniquely bad thing. But do you? Oh, I guess
So
someone else that wants to come in. Oh,
okay.
go ahead, Prime. Or well, let's see
Oh,
what says.
I was okay. I'll just say that my thought is that one my big problem with this is like the framing, as if like the state of affairs that we're working under, that like your wife is working under, like she's going for that advanced nursing degree, right?
Yeah.
Is like good and normal and should continue. Now, screw what Trump is doing, right? Like, if these people need access to loans, right, access to credit, so they can, achieve their goals, then let's absolutely do that. Especially, federal loans are, have better terms to them. So, great, right? However, I mean, people was $100,000, $200,000 in debt to get an advanced degree. Like, I think that's like the real issue, right? Like, and I don't ever want to lose that like in this country we don't invest in these people. Like, your wife is doing like exactly what we would want, right? Like, she's like advancing her professional aspirations, right? She's like passing the class, and like she will add more to like whatever organization she ends up landing in. That's exactly what we want, right? Especially if we want to have like a knowledge economy. And so we would want to support these individuals. We would provide financial support so that they can actually accomplish that. At least, I mean, that's what I would like to do. I don't like this idea that we just kind of like naturalize this thing. Oh, of course, yeah, you're going to be a doctor, so that's 200,000, 300,000 debt. Like, that's just a normal thing to do. And again, this debt, like it distorts like the field, right? The industry in of itself, because people have to pay back those loans, and so people don't want to be general practitioners, even though like they would love to, like otherwise, right? That they might have a passion there. They have to go into more specialized fields, and then those things get overcrowded, and then they have to justify like all these specialists, and those specialists then charge you, get you to take tests that you don't need, right? Like, it's a whole thing that happens, and so much of it is based on this debt load that like the best of us, is like leaving college or university with, right? Like, we want to be encouraging, and I would expand this past the medical field as well. I would have college for all, but and vocational school for all, because not everyone needs to go to college. So like I would, pay for all that, but the very least, right? Especially in this country that has a oncoming medical shortfall, like a medical professional shortfall, right? For exploding elderly population. Like, if that's a problem, why aren't we like providing the financial support for these people, right? We want to get encourage as many people to go through if you can pass the classes, that's all we need, right? But there shouldn't be an extra obstacle. Like, oh, you also have to find a way to pay for us. Oh, you also need to put all these other life goals on hold, right? Including like buying a house or investing in your own children, because like Dr. Greg, like him and his wife they have kids already, right? And think about like what can't they provide them, like because of that. Don't mean to get people to think about your finances, but like but this is like the reality of the situation is that like there's for Dr. Greg and people like him is like you have to like consider that, like, okay, I've got this education, it will take decades until like I can like breathe again and I can feel at ease, right? And in that time I'm raising a family, in that time I'm doing the hard work, right, of the job itself. In that time, like I'm stressed from everything else in life. So like, why don't we take that one burden, that massive burden off? So yeah, there you
people
go.
are trying to like commit, better their societies and their communities, and like being more educated. I don't understand like why that would be a burden and why we would not help those people. So Punk Paladin, welcome, man. What do you think about the non-professional degree of nurses now, or kind of healthcare spending in general, or what are you thinking about? Punk Paladin?
I'm sorry.
That's all good. Hey, man. Welcome.
I personally think that it is an abhorrent affront to the education system of this country to do something like that, because we're in desperate need of those professions. And it's almost comical that most of those professions that were labeled as unprofessional now are mandatory reporters. And considering the what's her face, our Secretary of Education, she's
Linda
also
McMahon?
her own sex scandal outside of the Epstein stuff. She's wrapped up in the Ring Boy scandal, and the fact she's going after mostly mandatory reporters, it's a little bit ironic, but at the same time, I think that this is an abhorrent affront to our education system, because we genuinely need these professionals in our country. And if our president, the troglodyte that he is going to constantly be trying to push out immigrants that can facilitate these roles, that are educated in these roles, then we'd have to fill those roles ourselves. But by making these labeled as unprofessional, we aren't going to have people wanting to facilitate filling these roles.
Exactly, man. And Skog actually is like applying to med school right now, so it's actually really cool to ask like Skog. I mean, what are you feeling? And like the other people, do you have peers that are also applying now? Like, yeah, what's your feel in this situation?
Yeah, it's actually kind of scary. And thank you for having me on panel, Doc.
Of course, man.
Just right now, it's just a lot of uncertainty, right? When I'm applying and I see like when you look at the statutes in the big beautiful bill, what you're told is that you will have a certain cap to the amount of loans that you can take out, right, for medical school and for nursing students as well. So not even just me, but nursing students, right? Going back to that conversation, and when you crunch the numbers, it is just not realistic, right? For there's supposed clauses and stuff like that that claims that you can work it out and you'll figure it out. Their expectation for you is to work while in medical school, have like a full-time job while studying
And
medicine.
that's
Right?
frankly unrealistic because of the standards of study you have to uphold.
Exactly. Yeah. And then with that said, exactly. Um, for if you crunch the numbers for what is traditional or what is expected or what is considered even pushing it far, like getting a part-time job in medical school, you still can't pay for your final year, and that's on you. You have to figure out out of pocket what to do with that. That's $200,000. I don't know where I'm gonna get. So I hope personally that by that time something will happen. I personally have waited a long while to apply for a graduate school because of making sure that my family was financially secure, making sure that I was financially secure, and now there's new wrenches in the system. I think at this point I'm actually just gonna go in, cross my fingers that something happens, and that if people can advocate, people like Dr. Greg and all the other people on the panel, including myself, if we can just advocate so this can change, and hopefully in the next presidential cycle there could be some changes
Or at the
that
very
will
least during the
help out.
midterms, apply pressure onto this administration
Yeah,
to
I mean,
ensure that, the provisions for medical professionals' education is covered.
I mean, the APA
Absolutely.
and the AMA and like all the physician lobbies and unions and stuff. I mean, there has to be some professional unions. The nursing unions are huge. They're really powerful. I know, um, from my wife.
We love unions here.
Yeah, like in San Diego, the nurses unions are so strong, man. They go on strike constantly, and they're constantly doing a good thing, like getting good raises and stuff. So I feel like that is like such a kick in the teeth, and as someone said in the chat too, it's like we need more and more um, NPs and nurse practitioners and nurses assistants and nurses. And basically, there's a huge amount as the baby boomers retire. There's going to be a huge need for care, and more of that care basically isn't going with MDs and DOs. Basically, there's nurse practitioners that can work as a physician, and every day, and then they basically go and get everything greenlit through the MD and DO and be like, is this what you would do? What do you think we should do on care? But they're fully capable of like running a code. Like someone is on their way out, and they can make every move to order everything right then and there. So that's why they're used so often, and it's just kind of like where the future of healthcare is going. So it's just very weird to
And it's
be
not
hurting that.
just like doctors and things of that nature that the baby boomers are going to need as they retire. They're going to need people at the retirement homes. But, our president is arresting all the people who want those jobs. People in America don't want to do those jobs. And we have a lot of immigrants that come here and facilitate those jobs for us. But by taking them out, we are, making a massive hole in our job market, not just employment wise, but also to take care of our elderly, because this nation hates you if you are poor, if you are a person of color, if you are LGBTQ, if you are a woman. If you are not what they hold to a high standard, they don't want you.
Yeah, for sure, man. It feels that way. I mean, that definitely the idea of a lot of these professions being women dominated too. I mean, that's like it's just so apparent. It's so apparent them trying to kind of make the traditional stay-at-home mom, like, why are you going out there in these jobs, kind of. I think that's what it feels like to a lot of these guys, like JD Vance, and when they talk about these issues, like they don't want to facilitate the degradation of society in their minds. In reality, it's like it's fundamental that we have everyone involved in the economy, that everyone who wants to can, and a lot of these nursing jobs are female dominated. I mean, it is a weird thing. I mean, if you think about it, but I mean, most people, men and women alike, prefer women to be doing that stuff. It's just is what it is. There's a lot of guys that are used for a lot of the moving patients around and stuff like that. But for a lot of the care in nursing, like everyone just prefers a woman. So it is kind of it's just a fact. It's just a fact of life.
No, I agree, and that's so. I've spent actually quite a lot of time in hospitals because I have a medical condition to manage, and in my opinion, like nurses are like the foundation of just like any medical system, and like they pretty much, they never pretty much overworked, underpaid, never get the credit that they deserve, and it just seems like a further slap in the face to them. Especially like again, I can't stress enough like just seeing how chiropractic is in there as
That's such a joke, dude.
is like
If anyone isn't aware, basically the origination of chiropractic practice, I don't even know what we should call it. It's like it was basically a counterculture alternative form of like alignment versus like actual medicine. So the guy was like an actual like crackpot, insane, and so the idea that it's like we're that's okay and be like professional, it is it's so wild to me.
And they
Um,
unfortunately they get the doctor title.
so
Yeah,
I'm
I mean, yeah, yeah,
I'm a little curious about this. So I don't know the history here. Maybe we should save this for like a dedicated stream. But like, I feel like there's some sort of there's an intersection here, right? Between what we've been talking about with RFK, and Maha, and chiropractic. Like I didn't know what you just said about its origins. But how does that not mirror like Maha in general, right? Like
exactly.
a whole bunch of individuals making all sorts of amazing claims
Exactly.
about health, right? Untested, and in fact, they don't even want it to be tested because the scientific establishment is corrupt, and so we don't want to be part of your crew, but we want to like hide under the guise of being sciencey, right?
Hmm.
To sell you this product that's going to be have a massive markup.
Yeah,
So
exactly,
like,
dude.
yeah.
So there's chiropractor, so that's the old school form, but now they also have NDs. So they have which are naturopathic
Naturopathic
doctors.
doctors. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. So that they used to be chiropractors, now they're NDs. They're kind of changing the name, kind of rebranding, but then ND is really similar to MD, so people are like, "Oh, it's kind of the same thing." There's already the DO there, which is like, so then like what's that? So I feel like they're trying to actually like rebrand a little bit, but NDs are and I forget why it came up in my Reddit like search or something, but there was I think I was actually thinking like googling what the difference between a DO and an MD is and like all that kind of stuff, and then there was a Reddit thread about how about NDs? What about MD, ND, DO? What are the differences? And the whole Reddit thread was just like, bro, in what world do you think that ND should actually be on that list? Like that is absolutely insane. Like, Skog, what do you think, man? What about like ND programs?
Yeah, I was actually gonna talk about that, and just an interesting thing, just to start off on like a very proximal sense. There's a couple NDs on this app, and I've noticed two things. One, there's been many times where doctors, or sorry, individuals ask this individual, "Hey, you're a doctor, right? You're a MD, like M as in Michael, D, right?" And I think they play into that like that little bit of a misunderstanding, and they're like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm a doctor, but you're
Mm.
an MD." ND. They say it quickly. I'm an ND. I'm an ND. So they can pull in more people viewing. They'll never specify what type of doctor they are. They'll never
Wow.
correctly say that. So I've noticed the underhanded tactic that they do on here. There's been a couple times where they even spoke about certain topics on many different political stuff regarding abortion to trans
Oh
validity
my
to whatnot.
gosh.
And that's not a space where they can speak on or they have the background, but they keep saying, "I'm a doctor, I have authority,"
Mm.
which isn't appropriate because of what their
Mm.
background is, right?
So
And that's just an underhanded thing they do.
that's
And on
crazy.
the topic, of like what I've been noticing, as someone who's applying to DO schools as well as
Hmm.
MD schools, as in Michael schools,
Hmm.
when I see people bring up ND stuff like that, I think it just poisons the well because DOs already have to do so much to get the respect that they need and
Hmm.
they deserve because they are doctors. They go through the same board certifications and their own board.
Yeah.
DO is dentistry, right?
No,
No, DO
osteopathy,
is
doctor of
doctor of
osteopathy.
osteopathic. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
sorry.
MDs and
Yeah.
DOs both have to take the same, like the same tests, the same certification, the same board tests. Like they both have to pass the same checkpoints. Okay, that's why they're both like legitimate, and the why one versus the other is kind of like an inside baseball thing.
Mm.
NDs were like, oh, okay, we're actually just going to create our own certification. We're going to do our own boards because we don't want to pass your thing, but we're still going to study for boards, so we're still going to be call ourselves doctors, all that kind of stuff. So they've created an entirely different like toll that they have to go through versus MD DOs are both legit.
Well, yes, but from what I understand, DOs like they have evolved over time to the point it's like they're essentially the equivalent of an MD, but now it's like as you just said, there's like now the whatever the conversation or like the debate of like, well, if these are equivalent, why have the different designations, right?
At this point, now exactly now it seems. I mean, I can understand why you would have different routes to that. I mean, as long as you're using medicine and science in order to understand like what's actually going on, like there's in science there's so many different approaches, so I could understand there'd be another philosophical like viewpoint, and as long as you're giving medically like similar care, then I can understand thinking about something differently. But like naturopaths, I mean, the problem is that they're not using science at all. They're not actually using any evidence-based practices. They are doing harm, like legitimately, because they have their own subscription services that they're going to be giving people to. I mean, I don't understand like the accountability and the hyper hatred for pharmaceutical companies, and the fact that they are for profit. But the pharmaceutical company isn't the same as the MD, guys. Like, you're not going to your physician to get the pharmaceutical products. That comes from the pharmacy. But imagine like if you had your own, like you went to a Pfizer doctor and like that Pfizer MD gave you a bunch of Pfizer products. You know what I mean? What would you think about that? Like, that's basically what happens with naturopaths. Naturopaths say, yeah, you need some green tea, okay, or you need some rosemary tinctures. And then, well, guess what? Who has the rosemary tinctures? Oh, it's me. Oh, and guess what? For a low cost of $40 a month, I can just send you some rosemary tinctures, which isn't FDA approved. They have no actual like certification that there's even rosemary in the thing that they're selling, and a lot of them don't actually. A lot of them, the vitamin things that they're selling you, like don't actually have the stuff in them. They're completely false. People have done GCMS on it and actually done science on them, and they completely fail. And it's just, and it gets people sick, by the way, because they aren't FDA approved. So guess what? Like the amounts in there can vary a bunch. You actually had people getting sick from ivermectin in the pandemic. Like, people are actually being harmed by a lot of this naturopathic stuff.
So you asked a question, and caller, I haven't forgotten about you. I did interrupt you, so I'm going to go back to you. So sit tight for a second. But just like you asked, like why, right? Mm-hmm. And like this is actually like I was just like putting this together as you were talking, Dr. Greg. Like, this kind of like reminds me of like the whole social media landscape on a macro scale. That like why do people like on TikToks especially like trust influencers to tell them like what clothes, what to wear, like what styles are in, right? Why do they trust them and their recommendations for beauty? And I'm not picking on women here. I'm picking on like this is I'm just focusing on one part of this, but like you can apply this all around, right? Like you'll say like, well, this recommendation, this is good because I know this person, right? Like I've watched their content and I can trust them in their recommendations, and so I'll take their word for it. But on the same end, for these naturopathy individuals, right? Like, hey, like I've made content, like. We've gotten a parasocial relationship started off. Like, I seem trustworthy, right? And so I'll tell you, this is like worth your time, right? And something you should put in your body. But also, right? So there's that. But secondly, it's probably also that like I don't trust those corporations, right? Like, I don't trust the pharmaceutical companies, right? And I don't like to be sold to by like clothing companies or makeup brands, you know? Like that seems impersonal. I don't like it, or like somehow shady. But those same brands, right, can like pay the influencer to say the same things, and then people will buy it then, right? Just because like it feels like there's some sort of connection there, but it's like all imaginary, and that influencer is indeed trying to make money, right? Like, and it is indeed has all those same like corrosive is not the word I want to use, right? But just like the incentives, yes, financial incentives that will tilt their recommendations just the same, right? So all those things still exist. So yeah, I'm sorry, Cole. I did interrupt you before about dentistry. So
And it's
sorry about
crazy,
that.
like with TikTok, dude. Like I had someone coming in here saying that vaccines weren't safe and that you shouldn't trust them because of pharmaceutical companies. And then
Mm.
that same dude, I go on his profile, 1,000 pages about how supplements are actually, you don't need them, and nonsense about how you can just have like a perfect immune system and you'll never get sick. On his TikTok shop, all those supplements, dude. All those supplements are right there. And you're just like, dude, the guy's like literally like creating money and making a market for it on this TikTok shop, and like he's actually getting paid for those, buy those products, the commission on those products, man. It's absolutely insane. Envy, how you doing? What are your thoughts?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, I just wanted to chime in kind of
Mm-hmm.
with the whole the why thing. That's kind of where I came in. Like it starts from some type of harm from the system, right? Whether they saw someone else be harmed, whether it's perceived harm that wasn't real, whether it's real harm that is real and now they don't trust the system. Like that's where it begins for people. And hi, Corey Prime. Y'all don't know me, but I'm a previous anti-vaxxer. I'm a current medicine skeptic. I advocate for medication harm and psych med harm, which a lot of people do not like, but that's okay.
Wait, to clarify, I'm being a little bit facetious, but you advocate for medicine harm, or like you want to minimize medicine harm?
Oh, because I was harmed by psych meds.
Okay, I understand.
And so I advocate for like black box warnings and things like that. But anyways, so specifically benzodiazepines. But anyways, so
I understand.
So people have experienced, what I'm saying is people have experienced real harm by these things, right? So I think it starts with some type of real harm, but then what happens is that it spirals. So there's reality, and I think Dr. Greg, we talked about this at one point when it came to RFK, and these types of people that have influence. So like they know part of the truth, right? So they might know like, okay, part of harm that's been done to a demographic of people, right? And I'm not even necessarily talking about vaccines. I'm more talking about medication harm at this point. But like part of harm that's been done to a demographic of people, and then that's how they'll captivate that demographic of people. And then they'll string them along towards all of these other things that are not real, that are conspiracies. And that's how they get red pilled through the media that you guys are talking about. And the reason I know is because I fucking experienced it. But yeah, I don't know. That's basically what I came on here to say, that like it starts with real harm. It doesn't start with the media. It starts with real harm, and then people seeking out solutions. And then when they go to seek out those solutions, it ends up being red pilled, ultra MAGA, fucking like unrealistic solutions. And then they just don't trust medicine at that point, because they've been so harmed by medicine and so harmed by the results that they've gotten from doctors that they don't want to go back. So they end up spending thousands of dollars on cinematic therapy. So anyways, yeah.
So I want to ask, Envy, you there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, that all made sense. Yeah, like the thing that I picked on, you touched on a lot of interesting stuff, and I'm first of all, I'm sorry that you suffered that harm. I want to make sure. Yeah, sorry about that. But like, what's interesting is like the political dynamic that you talked about. Like, oh, this like it's very red pill, and then like ultra MAGA, this space, and I can believe that, but I think it's really interesting because like the what was it, the Be Well movement? What was it called? Like the movement to basically to take control of your health, right? Like there's a name for this.
I can't remember it either, but I know what you're referring to.
Yeah, I'm blanking on the name right now. But like that was very much like left coded, right? Like there was like a lot of people who were saying that I don't know. Like this is like it was more like a Democrat thing. It was more um like a well-to-do liberal thing, right? But like it's moved away from that, and I'm curious as to why, and I'm wondering like this might be blinders because I'm on the left, right? Pretty far left. And so like it's I'm hesitant to say this, but like it feels like that on the right, like there's just a lot more room for scams. That like there's like that is like accepted there. Not that people don't get scammed on the left, not that there aren't dishonest people on the left. They are absolutely 100%, right? But like the tolerance for like a scam industry like this, I don't know like how far because like the left is like even if we don't always get it right, like what the science actually says, right? There still seems to be uh, a a tendency, right, to like look for like scientific truths and like maybe not always like necessarily trust experts, but just um like trust a preponderance of data, right? And it seems like, and again, just maybe just because I'm on the left and I like to think better of us, but it seems like on the right, there's a lot of space for just like straight up no screwing around, no screwing around scams. So yeah, like NB, if you're still there, or anyone else who wants to comment on that, like, do you guys feel the same way, or maybe am I just like having blinders on from my own side?
No, I
I'll
think
let
you're absolutely
NB
right.
share that.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I
Oh,
apologize.
well, no. If anyone wants to speak, I'll let anyone else
Yeah,
speak.
anyone can. Yeah, go ahead.
I think you're right, but I also think it stems from vulnerability. So I think
Mm.
that a lot of this stems from like vulnerability, like lack of access to education, lack of access. Because I mean, when you think about the demographic of the right, lack of access to education, but lack of access to education, but also vulnerability. So I truly believe that a vulnerability has to happen for these conspiracies to start developing. Because if a vulnerability does not happen, if someone does not go through something for them to stop believing in science, then they will never stop believing in science, if that makes sense. Or they can be brainwashed, right? Like, I feel like those are the two catalysts. But they have to know someone that's gone through something, or they have to go through something themselves. Anyways, sorry,
Mm.
shut up.
Okay.
No,
Well,
you're all good. I mean, that's brilliantly said. I was gonna just say that it is. It's almost like a lot of these snake oils are coping mechanisms, and a lot of people on the right are just looking for coping mechanism after coping mechanism
Yeah.
to just substantiate their very invalid worldviews.
Yeah, I agree. Hi, Michelle.
uh,
Welcome up. Do you have any ideas or any thoughts?
Absolutely. Very good to see y'all. I did want to say, NB, I totally hear what you're saying. And also to add on to that, um, it seems like a big issue that tends to be a sticking point for communities that have a history of, distrust within the medical community and also the medical community that is doing the research that, frankly, in the end, will benefit everyone. Um, I think that keeping those two things in mind is important. And also, I do think that um, Envy's not necessarily wrong with the fear of engaging in an endeavor that, I mean, it's been bolstered by whatever, a decade, 2 decades of science, and still having that frustration and hesitancy of actually engaging with full trust to that. So that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, how do we rebuild that trust? So for definitely like marginalized like communities, it's being pushed out for so long, and especially like the
Mm.
Tuskegee experiments and that kind of stuff, where it's just and we are seeing like a huge decline compared to everyone else in like African American populations for vaccination rates, for example, like in comparison.
Mm.
So it's having real world impacts, and I don't think that they're trepidation is wrong, but I don't I I don't know if the science is being communicated well so that they know that nothing like that is happening again, and that like the scientific process is completely different than like how it was in the 1950s to the 1970s. Um, and like for example, the human trials like that were done for the mRNA vaccines were, you know, really open and valid, and trying to um, make sure that the controls were done correctly, that they weren't exposing anyone to anything that would be malice.
Well, and the mRNA vaccine's been done since like SARS, you know?
Yeah,
SARS.
exactly. So the controls and the experimentation and everything is completely different than what was happening. But I think that, you know, rightly so, people are skeptical, but we have to do a better job of communicating that, right?
Yeah, and I just want to sort of also expand or also maybe share a little bit of my experience. So I totally take and I think I understand NB's point in terms of like if you've been harmed or if you had a negative experience with either, you know, the medical profession or like you have been harmed by a medication or multiple medications, you will understandably be like further skeptical of the medical establishment. And sort of in that vein, and so, you know, I'm pretty open in terms of like, so uh, as I alluded to earlier, you know, I interfaced a lot with the medical system in my area because like I have a chronic condition. I'm open about the fact that I have Crohn's disease and I've had it for like 30 years, and I've been on, you know, just about every medication there is for the condition, and you know I see it with let's say in chronic condition communities or communities that of people that have chronic conditions is like uh, unfortunately uh, medicine doesn't have answers for all of these patients, depending on like the condition. And it's like, you know, I definitely have been in like the frustrating point of like, you know, medical options have now run out for you. And so it's like, well, what do you do? At least in my case, it was surgery. Okay. But then for other cases, like, well, then it's like, well, if the medical system doesn't have answers for you, it's like you will understandably turn to like the alternative. Because it's like, unfortunately, well, I mean, as they should, but let's say, unfortunately, when science or a medical doctor doesn't know or doesn't have an answer for you, they're hopefully and are transparent with you of like, I don't really have, or I don't know, or I'm not sure, or it's like, yeah, the options here aren't great, as opposed to, you know, someone else who's like, you know, the quote unquote snake oil salesman is like, well, no, I do have the answer for you, where it's like they can prey on these types of people, and I see it all the time because it's like. Especially with
An
individuals that
information
have
center
a
for a
severe form of my
6-month
condition, it's like
subscription with
the medical
also
options.
2 years.
Sorry, was I cutting you off? I didn't catch that.
All good, keep going.
Okay, I just heard something. Sorry. Um, so yeah, with individuals that have like a severe form of my condition, it's like the medical options or medication options are not that great, and so it's a pretty regular occurrence of like these people tend to turn to alternative therapies that doesn't always have the the best outcomes. But it's like when you're out of options, it's like, yeah, you will understandably turn to these things. Or if you've been harmed by a medication, you will also turn to the alternative or be further skeptical. So I take the point, and like I can empathize to a certain degree.
What do you think about that, Skog? Like when you're trying to learn, like kind of about this stuff, and I think about in terms of, you know, consent in medical, and we see that a lot actually in the medical bills that are trying to be passed in the MAHA stuff. These 400 bills. A lot of them are all in the name of freedom and liberty, that I can choose what goes into my body. But like as a physician, like am I consenting? I'm consenting to the whole process, aren't I? The idea that I need to consent at like, hey, am I consenting to you to cut me? Like, well, no, but I'm consenting to you to do an operation, and through that operation is going to be a cut. So like, do I need to give consent at every step? Does medical community need to, or like, how do you think about that?
You know, this is only an American problem, right? So like when we see a lot of these things, like these like in other countries, people do not make such a debacle over these types of things, and you know, this radiates out into so many issues, and a lot of it stems into things like like for example, when a person who's Maha says that, hey, I don't need to get vaccinated, it's every man for themselves. I can choose what goes into my body. It's just negligence, right? It's just overall just unfair. And then going into this case of like bureaucracy, with now we had to consent on where I can cut you, what I can do. I'm gonna get in trouble if I overstep my boundaries because I'm now infringing on your supposed self autonomy in the state, right? And it is such a only an American problem. And I feel like the only way to solve this is just further education, right? Understanding of nuance. You brought up a good example of that operation, right? If someone goes under operation is is under and is getting a cardiac bypass, imagine you had to have like a checkbox of every consent for every little incision, for every stitch, for every suture, for every whatever. That would just be absolutely unreasonable. And as someone said in the comments, it's a unique problem only to America where you see this occur. And it just stems from what I'm gonna say, lack of education and a need for.
Mm.
And I've been saying this too, and maybe this is a little bit like a little bit shots fired, but I think on the right, a lot of people are just looking to become a victim at this point. They're looking for whatever they can to claim that they've been infringed on, that they're a victim in this situation, that they got. Someone told me on my live before that because I was muting them because they kept on over talking my guests, I was stomping on their throat. And I'm like, that's the most absurd way to describe that. You're literally talking over my panels trying to explain a concept to you. I feel like that's just their ideology. They just think that way constantly.
Can I give you some pushback here? Um, I don't think this is a uniquely American problem. Like, I mean, first of all, our Canadian friends, our poison tends to spill over to them a lot. So, I apologize to them. First of all, but beyond that, right? Like, sure, maybe Maha in a specific virulent form might be quote unquote like uniquely American, only because it came out of an American context. But like medical disinformation has been around for as long as we've had the idea of like medicine. There have been individuals, selling, like snake oil salesmen, like for quite a long time, and like you'll still see it today. Like you'll see it through religious groups, right? Like hey, well, there's Christian Scientists, they're a thing, right? Um, and you can pray away the cancer or whatever the hell. So I guess I push back, and you see it in other countries as well. And like I guess I reject the idea that it's a uniquely American issue where like people searching for answers. And NB previously, I think she really hit the nail on the head when she was like responding to me, that yeah, it's like an initial trauma or some sort of incident that usually sparks this, and the simple, like the easiest solution, entry point is just like, hey, I don't understand. Like I'm going through something and I need answers. Like I'm just looking for something, right? I don't have especially a level of expertise to sift these things. And one other thing I want to push back on is the idea that simply a lack of education. People have been saying that, but like I reject that, because we see among these communities very well educated individuals also falling for these things, right? Like I think what MB had said in terms of susceptibility is true. But what is susceptible? Like being, emotionally vulnerable, being in pain. Like let's say you're going through like some sort of traumatic medical condition, right? And maybe not having a support network and finding community among these individuals. Like there's all kinds of reasons like being there, but like simply not having that not being educated, I don't think is necessarily the case, and that like this is just a thing Americans are dealing with. I reject that, but you can respond, please.
Yeah, I think you see it in data specifically with the UK. So like in the UK the United States is ranked like 200th in death per capita for the COVID-19, and the UK is like right down there with us, like 205 or something. And it's like I think that both of us are uniquely like susceptible to the disinformation campaigns that like happen. But I do think what Scott was talking about is that like the American exceptionalism, patriotism is too often like conflated with expertise. Like my ability to say something and a First Amendment right to be skeptical and talk about something, is conflated with like an expertise level, ability. Like your opinion is just as good as someone else's. I think that they're both. It can be. I think both can be true. But Corey, what do you think about as a Canadian? I mean, what do you think that a lot of that anti like medical science conspiracy theories like bleeding over?
Oh, it definitely bleeds over here, especially
Mm-hmm.
as I think I mentioned last time. Canada just recently lost their measles eradication status, or
Yeah.
measles being considered eradicated, because like we have now a consistent outbreak of measles here. Largely, well, not only, but like it seems to have sprung up like in Alberta, but there's other provinces as well. Quebec is definitely also, but like yeah, but so all that to say is I think that's a clear indicator to me that of medical misinformation spreading. Uh, I think it's a little bit less of an issue. If I'm ballparking, it's like, whatever, 10-50%, not as bad from what I can tell, but it's still, I think, more or less just as equally bad in the United States, from what I can tell, and based off of my
And
experience.
and to harp, sorry, just one like last thing on this education thing. One more time, it's like an engineer is also not a medical professional, but that's a person who's been educated a lot, right? We wouldn't say an engineer is an uneducated individual. Now, like the likelihood that they've absorbed more things about like more facts about the human body than your average bear. Like I think that there's is you're more likely to know a bit more, but they're still not a medical professional. So like the gaps they have in their knowledge, which are huge, right? The gaps in their knowledge about biology, right? Like the things that certainly Corey and Dr. Greg would never fall for, right? Like they still have them, even though they are, by all accounts, educated. So I just really push back against that idea because it's just happening to everyone. But sorry, go ahead. A caller.
Yeah, Michelle, what are you thinking about, or NB? What do you think?
Um, I don't have anything directly to that. If I could circle back really quick to we were talking about
Go
like
for it.
consent, and I think informed consent to a degree would be a good thing. And when I say informed consent, I mean like I know we do that for some things, right? Like for an example, when I was on HRT, I went through a very thorough informed consent process with that, right? But we don't have as an extensive informed consent on other things. Um, and I think that scares a lot of people. Like, obviously, when I went and got my MMR, I knew what I was going in for and I was prepared for it because I had came to the Dr. Greg show, right? But not everybody has access to the Dr. Greg show. And so,
But they
like,
should.
But no, can you,
but
Envy?
they
Can you just? I don't think Prime and Corey actually know that story. Can you just like in a 2 minute like reprise, like say like your history here?
Oh, I came in and I was like, is this guy joking? Like, why is he pushing vaccines on people? This has to be like a fucking joke right now. And I think I typed that in chat. I don't know. You can affirm that, Dr. Greg, if I did or not. But I was like, is this a fucking joke? And I think he responded like, no, like this is not a joke at all. And I was like, okay. So I like shut up and watched for a second. And yeah, I don't know. And then I asked him to. I came up and I asked him about his opinion on psych meds, and it was like a whole convo. And I don't know. I just stayed for weeks. Long story short, I was in my bed, super depressed. Finally took this medication that he was like, trust your doctor and take it. And then it changed my world for the time being that I needed it to. And so yeah, so then I trusted him on vaccines, and I didn't like die. That was cool.
Yeah, we changed
So
it. Like an anti-vaxxer that came in, and we changed him. So
That's awesome.
so it was cool. Yeah, it was. There's like half a dozen people now that are all like that. But Envy's stayed and been more and more. I actually got one person to change and then vaccinate their kids too. So that was like a
That's
huge.
big.
Yeah, dude. I'm actually like I was blown away. So and then there's just so I think that just like getting into like a community that's like positive and like affirming and like, hey guys, this isn't just like some weird thing. Like we can actually help people move forward and through communities like Discord communities. That's a big tool now. I think these streams. Hopefully it can connect people. Bare Necessity 64. Let's go.
And if I may ask, if you want to share, and because you mentioned just now that you think there should be more informed consent on certain things, do you have something specific in mind or a certain set of things, if you want to say?
Yeah, like for an example, like when I went to get my MMR shot, I knew what I was in for because I was informed via Dr. Greg's show, but not everybody has the Dr. Greg show, right? So, obviously there was a form and I signed it and it had like a bunch of writing, but who on earth is actually going to go in there and look at that writing, right? So, I think what would be beneficial when it comes to like vaccinations and medications is to actually like sit down with the person, even if it's just like 3 minutes, and be like, hey, like this is what you're putting into your body, and this is the potential side effects of it, and this is the positives of it, right? And don't minimize the potential side effects because side effects can happen to anybody. More specifically on the medication side, what I'm talking about, but yeah.
Real
Okay.
quick, we're just gonna celebrate Bear real quick. It's 64 emails, guys. Action.drgregshow.com. Let's do it in 3, 2, 1. Nice. 815 emails or phone calls, guys. Thank you guys so much. Action.drgregshow.com. Everything is pushed out now and sectioned by your state. So now you know who to call, who to email in your state to have more actions. And guys, you call or email your same step reps, your state reps. They are listening to you. They are hearing that call. It is 10 times worth more than an out of state. So make sure that you guys are doing those actions for your state. So action.drgregshow.com. Thank you. Sorry.
That's good. And so I just wanted to, so I don't disagree necessarily with anything that you said, NB. And like in an ideal world, I think it should function like that. I think there's like where I think there's a balance to be struck, or like I think striking that balance is difficult because it's like, yeah, in an ideal world, if a doctor is prescribing medication, they should spend the time to pretty much go through all the major side effects or all the pros and cons. But then it's like, but what if that requires 15 or 20 minutes? Which is like, again, on paper, I don't think that's a bad thing. As in, ideally, a doctor should spend as much time as needed with the patient. But I guess, at least in my experience, the unfortunate reality is like they don't have necessarily that luxury. And like I've certainly been in, as in, like I've undergone many medical procedures and one that are like routine for me, and it's like at this point, like I just sign the sheet and I don't actually like read it, or at least I know enough at this point. It's like I know what I'm signing up for. But even in the beginning, like for pretty much just about any, like maybe I'm placing too much trust in the medical system and I should be more skeptical. But that's where it's like I'm like I agree it should be that way, but I'm not sure it could actually be put in place in practice until we get more healthcare professionals, which this designation of nurses not being professional is not going to help that situation. And so, yeah, it's I think it's a difficult problem to solve in my experience, because especially with like just like a medication. So maybe, well, at least in my experience, pharmacists play a role there in terms of like if a patient has a question about medications, hopefully a qualified pharmacist can answer those questions. But then there's also, for some medications, depending on what it is, there's, that product insert or, the patient information form, which is usually like whatever, 10, 20 pages long. So understandably, not everyone's going to read that. But it's like, yeah, like where the responsibility truly lies in that situation, I think it's difficult, at least for me, to tease out. But in principle, I don't disagree with you.
It's tough because it's like at some point you're never going to be able to be informed about the things that you're taking. So you do kind of like have to, trust the system. Like trust the process. And if it is legal, and the FDA approved, then you should kind of know that there is something there that has been tested rigorously. And I think it's the question is like how much do we educate, right? I mean, that's the real thing. Like, are we explaining thimerosal and ethyl versus methyl mercury? Are we explain what an adjuvant is, what aluminum is? If there's, in some case, I feel like you kind of open yourself up to, like, okay, well then, what's the concentration of aluminum? Why are you putting aluminum in? Wait, what? And you're like, oh no, okay, well actually, it's like, there's actually less aluminum in here than in breast milk. It's actually better for you because we can, the whole reason why in the 1980s, like for example, like you got more antigens and your vaccines were bigger dosages, but now we actually have a lesser vaccine bolus, a lesser amount of antigens, but we've just gotten better at exposing it to your body so that you actually develop a better antibody response with less antigen, so less viral load, all that kind of stuff. So it is. I feel like it's. What do you have, Michelle? What's going on? What are you thinking? You can chime in anytime.
Oh yeah. So basically, what I was thinking is, I do think that everyone's opinions on the side effects or how uncomfortable it is after a vaccine to get it. I do think that discourse is valid. However, ooh, I do think that it is not. It's not honest to say that for instance, informed consent that you would get for HRT is like, I don't know, going to be expected with the informed consent for vaccines, and then also not recognizing that the informed consent for vaccines gets closer to HRT than not. I'm sorry. Ooh.
I mean, like HRT is only going to be prescribed to you if you're like, a psychiatrist, and like I think that it's like over a year.
Psychiatrist, PCP, endocrinologist.
Yeah. There's tons of people that are involved with that.
Cis people,
I mean,
trans people, absolutely across the board.
And people, I mean, with obviously vaccine doesn't even require a prescription. Like you don't need to have one. It's not administered by your PCP. So I do feel like
Unless you want it covered by your insurance.
True. Yeah. Yeah. What do you think? Well, welcome, Trent. What are you thinking, man? Are you there?
Well, while that person gets themselves situated, and like let us know when you're there, Trent. Like, so I was Shake. I believe NB was saying like, yeah, it'd be great if we could, if doctors could sit down and have like a thorough discussion with their patients so they can understand, like the side effects and all that. And I was shaking my head, like nodding my head, along with them when they were saying that. But then Corey jumped in and he talked about like basically different educational levels. It reminded me of okay, so when I got like severely sick like a few years ago, like quite a while ago, and I had to be hospitalized, but I'm fine. I'm like it was just like an infection or something. But like at the end of it, like as I was being discharged, like there was like a group of doctors came in, so I was at a teaching hospital, and a head doctor came in, flanked by a bunch of up and coming, good looking medical professionals, aspiring doctors. With them. Anyway, they started like saying, okay, well, this is medication you're gonna have to take, and this is what you have to deal with, and all that, right? Like we're just listing out like well, I have to take my post care and all that, right? And like my status. And I was like nodding along and going, yep, got it. And they were like about to go into explanations for things, and I'm like, and I just like completed their sentences for them, like, okay, yep. So you mean this, right? Like, and like, oh, okay. So you got that all. Oh, all right, great, right? And then like the group leaves. One of the junior doctors, I don't know what to call him, stuck around. And he probably shouldn't have said this. I didn't mind it, but like he probably shouldn't have said this. But he was like, "Oh, it's such a great change, right, from like what we usually deal with. Like the fact that you understand like this medical stuff like immediately. It's like they like okay, so that was the end of my treatment. At the beginning of my treatment, when I first came in, I was talking to a doctor, and they asked me, "Oh, do you have like medical knowledge, right? Like, are you a medical professional yourself?" I'm like, "Well, no, not at all. Like, I assure you, not at all." But they mistook the amount of knowledge I had for a person who might know more, right? Like, might be within the field. And on the other end, right, I got that same at the very end of my care. I pretty much got that same thing. But the implication was that like almost their entire population like was at a much lower level of understanding. Now I thought all the things I was like responding to were like quite basic, like extremely basic in my head, but that's not the case. And like I like what that junior doctor was like letting me know, the trainee was like letting me know is that there is such a diversity of like knowledge when they're coming in, right? Like from like a high school level to college level. Even though I don't even want to use those words because that implies too much, right? That college level means that you have a big understanding just because you got that degree. No, you actually may not, right? That's like kind of the whole point I was making before, is that you may not. And so like the effort to like get them all on board, some effort should be made. I definitely agree. Like I don't think anybody was wrong to suggest something like that. But like what does it take to get every person on board, right? Like Corey was saying, like 15 minutes. It might take a lot longer for some of these individuals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And in principle, like, do I think a doctor should be able to like spend an hour or two with a patient and really go in detail? But it's like, what is that going to do to our system, right? Or like, we definitely need to increase the number of doctors there at that point, if that's the case.
Maybe what we could do though, hold on, but like just one thought now that you just said that is that, well, maybe it's not a doctor, right, who does it. Maybe we have like
PT. Yeah.
Well, not that, please.
That's
But
what's gonna happen.
But maybe we think of like expanding care beyond like the doctor's office model, right? We have like medical advocates, right, who help people like make their way through the hospital system.
True.
Maybe something like that for like afterwards. Basically, I'm maybe describing a social worker here, but in any case, right? Someone who has enough medical knowledge to be able to follow up with these individuals and make sure, hey, like you understand like the dosage, right? How often you should be taking it, like what the possible side effects might be, right? Like keeping up with these individuals. If we could actually expand that, and that this requires funding, right? But I think it's worthwhile. We can expand that. I think we could solve a lot of those problems and like value the doctor's time and actually like address the things that Envy was talking about. So sorry, I said a lot there.
No, those are all great points.
Yeah.
I think one last thing that I'll say is that because a lot of people are saying like, oh, just read the packaging, or oh, just do the thing. The doctors, like in my specific instance, and yeah, you can say that's anecdotal, but there's thousands of other people who are suffering from the same thing I'm suffering from. In my specific instance, I was prescribed benzodiazepines. I can't say which one, or we'll get this panel potentially kicked off. But I was prescribed benzodiazepines for long-term use, which if you look at the paper, it's not what they're for. Um, and then I moved to California, and my California doctors were like, no, 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 you're not supposed to be on these long term. And they ripped me off of them. And once they ripped me off of them and put me on a different dose, that's when I got some form of, we'll call it neurological damage. So now I'm technically temporarily disabled. I have a medical accommodation at work. I'm working closely with the doctor, a psychiatrist, like all of these things, right? And this is happening to people in all stages of their life. And this is just like one example of it, but it's why I'm so passionate about having what I call informed consent. And the reason I call it informed consent is because if I would have been informed in the same way that I was on my HRT about these benzos, then I probably would not have started them, right? And that's just I started my HRT, and I even stopped my HRT. I'm even what people would classify as a detransitioner, right? So as someone who's stopped my HRT and I was satisfied with my HRT experience, I'm very dissatisfied with my benzodiazepine experience. And if I would have been informed in the way that I was with my HRT, I wouldn't have started the benzodiazepines. But I would have started the HRT if I could do it over again. So if that quantifies anything.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to hear that you had, that the benzodiazepines had
Also,
that effect
MB,
on you,
you're
that
not
negative.
detrans unless you are detrans. Hormones are not.
That's
We've
why
got
I say
you.
quote unquote, because I'm still NB, yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Sorry, go
Does
ahead.
that,
Sorry, y'all.
Interesting. Go ahead,
no,
Prime.
it's fine. Is that Trent person? Are they there? Are they?
No, they dropped. They dropped.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just us. Scott, what are you thinking, man? Do you have any thoughts?
I do want to apologize. I don't think I did the best job explaining what I was getting at earlier.
All good, bro.
With everything, but thank you so much for correcting that, Dr. Greg. I just meant that, like, in America, you have so much resources to be. Seemingly, there's so much you can do to better understand things in medicine, right? Or you have so many resources available, and some people, at least from my experience being on TikTok, just some people just refuse to look into things like regarding vaccinations, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of anti-vaxxers, whatnot, have so much information readily available to them, yet they still have this idea that the doctor is trying to sell them a snake oil, versus the guy that's selling them supplements on the side isn't. So that was just my perspective on that. And I did want to bring up on the previous topic regarding like MDs, so naturopathic doctors. Just as someone who's applying for a DO program and MD program, they kind of poison the well, in the sense that, like, when I bring up like, hey, I'm applying for a DO program, people are like, oh, so you're holistic, and they assume I'm on more closer to them. And I had to explain a whole argument of what the colleges I'm applying for still have, like, are accredited, have so much support behind them, and these aren't just naturopathic or chiropractic schools, I promise.
Oh man, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. That's so frustrating, because it's just like, no, I'm not them. I'm not that.
Oh, literally? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, dude, that's so frustrating. Michelle, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts?
Mine?
Yeah.
Ooh, I've got so many. One, NB, thank you for sharing that. That was absolutely exactly what was needed and what I am so glad to support. And sorry if you can hear my cat in the background. He is mad I'm not giving him treat time immediately. So, also, Skog, I mean, fair enough. Also, Greg and Prime and Corey, thank you for being up here.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have anything else, Prime, for the other article? I guess we had like one other thing, but I guess we could also like shift gears into that other thing with I guess like political news, if you guys wanted to talk about that.
Sure.
Or just like regular Maha nonsense or whatever you guys want. Corey Prime, whatever you want, man.
Cool. Yeah. I was curious. I'm not sure how far you were able to dig into that, but within our group GM sent us a study, like a research paper, a research paper in quotes. We're gonna put heavy quotes on this one.
Yeah.
And
to kind of like show and kind of like talk about. I think it'd probably be better to kind of like talk about maybe like another topic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Just because like it's hard to show the paper and kind of like talk about it.
Well, technically, you don't need to show the whole paper. Like technically,
Okay,
it's only
we can
that one
talk about
figure.
We can talk about it. Yeah, I think you know what, I retract what I said. I think that's a good idea. Prime, go ahead.
No problem. But yeah, so I'll let Corey take it away. But it was a paper talking about how we could best utilize AI within the medical field. Specifically, they talked about explainable AI. I believe that's the term they use. Or somehow, yeah, something like that. Explainable AI, in which like you could use AI or the ways to be able to interpret AI's outputs. Yeah, that's what it was. Like, because it was like the autism diagnostics, right? Like coming up with diagnostics for autism, using AI to help with that. But then being able to explain the outputs of AI to medical professionals and to caregivers, so they can take actionable steps. But then like there were some like really big red flags in that study. So Corey, you could take that away.
Well, actually, you summarize it. I think better than I could have. But like, yeah, pretty much like in that one figure. Well, figure one. It's at least from what I can tell, and from also there's now if you go on to if you click on the article on the website, it seems to be flagged now, where it's like being reviewed by like the editorial board or whatnot. But like, yeah, it's sort of a little bit ironic of like this is a research paper about AI in a medical setting. It seems like they used AI to generate a figure, and the figure is totally just like a ridiculous, like it's a nonsensical figure.
They definitely did, dude. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so in stream chat, I linked the article, so you can check it out.
You just need to look up figure one. It's just a nonsensical figure.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can.
It's a hallucination
Go ahead.
that AI does, right?
No, it's not. The figure isn't a hallucination. It's just like it's just trying to explain kind of the entire process of creating that link between research and the actual product that's being used and how it's being used for this purpose.
Okay.
It's just a little like busy, I guess. It's just like a lot.
Oh no! Did you look at it? Look closely at it. Like it's less. It's the problem isn't simply that it's busy. It's
like,
just like
it's
wrong.
Yeah, it's like literal like there's not actual there's made up words in there.
Yeah.
Insane is overall working of the framework presented as an infographic. So that thing, I mean, there might have been problems with it, but it wasn't like.
No. Did you take a look at any of the words in there?
Yeah. I'm gonna see if I can just put this on screen for you guys. That'd be great if I could actually do that. I'm working on it.
Figure one shows the overall informed consent methodology. I mean, I agree with you. It's definitely like a product of AI. I'm just saying that I don't think that was the purpose of the figure to do that.
No, it wasn't. But that's like it. But it's literally just like a ridiculous like figure. Mm-hmm. There's words in there that don't exist, that are not part of the English language, as far as I can tell.
And in AI creating the figure, it means that it doesn't even know what it's trying to present to. Like, it doesn't know how to present a figure to a body of peer research scientists.
Man,
like,
look
that's
at
not what AI.
Figure 6 is the Excel spreadsheet default template. That's always usually a big. No, I'm a PhD, a microbiology PhD.
No, seriously.
Like, unless I'm mistaken, like there are those words in the figure. I don't know what factor fexes torn is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like little weird parts about it. You know, I was like, what in the?
And I don't
It's
know
very-
what
it's very weird.
run tictional features are, or
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. I was gonna figure out the old word.
Yeah, medical frimblau, environmental features. Guys, if you aren't seeing, seeing this, I'll put this in my own chat as well, so you guys can take a look. Right, the direct link to the specific figure, but like there's a larger study there.
yeah, I have no problem.
And
I didn't read the entire study. I have no, be clear about that.
Yeah, but like, so I put the link in my own for my own viewers. You guys can take a look at that as well. But like, look at this infographic. But like, so let's and at the top, I think it goes back to the actual study itself. A link there. But but this is interesting, right, in and of itself, because think about the implications of this, right? So like the article the research paper that Corey was so kind to show to us is talking about how we can use AI, we can trust AI
Right,
as a medical diagnostic tool, right? That it is, as it stands today, or wherever this whenever this came out. I don't see a date. Oh no, yeah, this was actually just published the other day.
Yeah.
That like as it stands, this is a reliable tool for like mission critical medical diagnoses, and we just have to figure out a way to explain the output. But like this person, which would be like let's call them a techno utopian or whatever, right? Like a optimist, techno optimist. This person clearly used AI to generate this infographic to a system, and they were so confident in whatever with this model that they didn't even bother to check. Look at the drawing too. Hold on, I just noticed this. The drawing of the woman, her legs go through the
table. Yeah.
the table. Like what the like this person like. One, it makes me question like the entire without even reading this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
It makes me question everything about it. Yeah, because the level of sloppiness here. So like I don't know what can I trust here. But like even if let's assume the rest of this, and I haven't read the whole thing, the rest of the paper makes sense, is on point, right? Like this like undermines everything, because it says like, hey, I trusted this model to put out to give me this output, right? And it failed, because of course it is, because AIs don't have an understanding of like these concepts. They don't have a world model, and they have to need constant supervision. But yeah, sorry, I'm other people can jump in.
No. You summarize it like again much better than I could have. That's why I thought it was like super and so ironic. And not only that, like this appears to have gotten past at one point peer review, and this is not published in any sort of like no-name journal. Like this is not Nature, it's Nature Scientific Report, so a little bit different, but it is like it's very bizarre and also very ironic, and just it's I don't know what's going on here, but the fact that
I find that Nature satirists track things because of lack of review, but hey, come on.
It's very
Maybe
shocking.
Once
honestly.
in a 20-year period, basically.
I'm shocked too. I mean, I guess let's just say that there's definitely AI slop here. I totally agree with you, but let's just take it for face value. I mean, what do you guys think about someone being diagnosed from like an AI conversation? I mean, that just seems very self-referential. I would obviously want kind of like a human to confirm, but going through as a physician or a psychiatrist, seeing what someone says and they're saying these things to a chatbot, and I mean, maybe they're playing devil's advocate, maybe they're saying it nonchalantly, maybe they're trolling, seeing what the chatbot would say, but should there be some place in medicine for these conversations with like an AI?
well, I think these conversations are happening anyways, at least as far as I can tell. people are attempting to use or are using ChatGPT as like for medical advice or to ask medical questions. But I agree with you that at the end of the day, I think a human should largely be in charge, or I think like I can sort of envision it that a patient or person engaging with ChatGPT sort of like maybe gives gives options, or like maybe is able to like open the conversation with the doctor of like, hey, I I put my symptoms in ChatGPT. ChatGPT thinks maybe it's this, and then actually going to the doctor and actually consulting them. That's where I sort of can see maybe a place for AI. But at the end of the day, I think humans, as of now, are better, and I think even this paper and this figure is a testament that you shouldn't place too much trust in AI. Just like Prime said, it looks like the author of this paper just seemed to place too much trust in the AI. Yeah, they'll generate a figure, or I honestly don't even know how this like just made it to this point.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's just really really bizarre. And again, this is not like a no-name journal. Very weird.
So I do have a few questions. When an individual is using this supposed AI to help diagnose themselves, is this something like, is this literally using ChatGPT, or is this something like you go to a clinic, you go to like a cubicle of a computer, and they have their own special AI, or
like they already did the intro, whatever, included or not included space.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? That kind of went over my head.
Oh, like the patient that is now doing this survey either was included via inclusion criteria or excluded the exclusion criteria before we get to this point of asking if they're doing this.
I think.
Okay.
Well, are you referring to like what they did in the paper? Or, unless I'm misunderstanding what was said.
Sorry, I'm referring to like my questions regarding if a patient is to in the future, and not even just. Sorry, I didn't read this paper yet.
No,
but
I don't think
mean,
anybody have. I haven't read this paper.
Okay, so I meant if in the future, what is expected? Like, is it expected that patients would, be sent like a link to a special AI software by their doctor, and then that's where they fill out all their, ask the AI all the questions and whatnot. They have a conversation. The AI then concludes this person needs this person needs that, and then the doctor just signs it off, or is there?
So what I was gathering, and I could be incorrect. Okay, so I'll put that out there. What I was gathering is that this is like they're using AI, not like necessarily conversational, like, oh, this replaces the doctor. You just like speak into the mic, right? And then it spits out like a result. And what this seems like, and this is what like I've seen within the medical field, as an outside observer, but like the talks what they're talking about is like coming up with a program, right, that uses an AI model on the back end that does this processing. So like, as a clinician, instead of, maybe relying on the traditional ways of diagnoses that like, they would do, they would take in all the data, they would input it in, right, and then they would get a result back. That's my understanding. That's what I thought this was trying to talk, and like comparing different models here, because it lists a few. That's what it seems to be measuring.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. That's my interpretation.
Yeah,
just based off of the browsing that I did of the article.
Yeah, and so like that in itself, right? That dream like is a good one. But like we want better diagnostic tools, right? Like the paper at the start, it was an abstract. It talks about like being able to sift through like massive data sets, right, to find patterns, and then like to present these to clinicians, to researchers, and so that they can find either breakthroughs or understand the populations better, or be able to diagnose individuals with more accuracy or whatever, right? Like that like is great, and that would be great if that worked. However, like these models, like as of now, and to be fair, so I'm gonna give a bit more grace to this article in just a second, right? Um, like as of now, these don't seem to be um, ready. However, right, it's probably the case that the models that this person is testing are different from whatever came up with that infographic, right? Because they don't seem like they're like just like looking at ChatGPT.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah, ChatGPT or like one of the other main line models is probably what they use to come up with that infographic. But like looking at like from what I'm seeing, like these are very specific models, like more niche models are using for the autism diagnoses. But even still, I have a deep reticence, a deep anxiety about these models being ready, right? That we are so gung ho of stuffing in these like models, an AI component into the medical field, into all aspects of our lives at this point, right? When like we just have not yet seen the reliability, especially when we're talking about mission critical aspects, right? Applications like making a infographic is not mission critical. You should check it. You should check it nonetheless. But thankfully, right? But so it's fine that it messes up. It's hugely embarrassing. But if this was actually, hey, this was that infographic is supposed to tell you something important, right, about some person's life or the medication they're supposed to be using, right, and you don't check that, that's a big issue. Yeah.
Yeah, the only reason I ask is because, at least for me, I would like a medical professional to keep a close eye on the prompts and responses. Maybe I'm having a bad time understanding like exactly what's the whole process of AI, but like I think this should be used, like you said, yourself, Prime, more like a tool than a absolute object, right? It can be like a tool for organization, if you will, a tool to maybe make just a little bit of quality of life for the psychiatrist or physician who's working on this project, rather than that of like, hey, I'm gonna make this do all the work. Oh, this is the answer I got. I'm not gonna double check it. And in fact, that's what I say a lot about ethical use of AI. I think I think people need to recognize that AI is a tool, and there's certain areas where it works best on, right? It's a hammer, not a wrench, or a wrench, not a hammer. You know, has a specific purpose and time and place. And I think this needs to be used in a very specific manner if it is to be incorporated this way.
I'd like to chime in also that I agree with Skog as well to a degree, but I also think that we're not ready for this. Like, we're nowhere near ready for this. I don't think I personally ever want us to be ready for this. I know it's here, but and here's why I don't think it's a good idea, specifically when it comes to autism spectrum disorder, right? Because it is such a spectrum that doctors don't diagnose women with it or people of color with it or queer people with it until they're in their late 20s and 30s. Like, people have gone undiagnosed for so long already, right? So to think that like medical professionals that have trained their whole life are having a hard time diagnosing it, I don't think that an AI is going to be able to pick up on all of the mannerisms of this disorder in the way that doctors and professionals need to.
I don't think that's what they're aiming for, to be clear. Like, I don't think that's it. This, my understanding is that they're not aiming for like an AI bot that'll like sit with the individual and like, try to diagnose from there, like, like pick up on their cues. Like, it would be, again, my understanding, and if my understanding is incorrect, then I take this all back. That like a clinician would do the intake and like analysis, but they would just like be, well, not the analysis, but anyway, they would input the data into this tool, and then that would help them with the diagnoses. And so like it would still rely on that medical professional that you're talking about to make the decision. And plus, like that, even if the AI spits out like a result, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to follow it, right? Like, It's just like, okay, well, this is the opinion, right? Let's say it says this person is likely, like 80% likely to be on the spectrum, right? Like you can still disagree with that, right? I would imagine. So, you know,
Yeah, I totally get it now. So I again, I apologize. You said this even earlier. You said like the input and the back, like the back data stuff. You brought that up earlier, Prime. I didn't
mm,
understand it first, but now I get it. The dots connected. So I get what you're saying. It's kind of like picking up on. Uh, so the doctor does all the heavy lifting. The AI just kind of adds in, and I guess the quality of life at end. It kind of maybe connects a dot that the doctor didn't see. Kind of like
yeah,
there's. I heard some stories. I don't know how true this is, Doctor Greg. If you could correct me if I'm wrong, but there was supposedly this time where AI detected tumor growth within a sample that no one else could see, and they were actually correct. It was positive. Um, Supposedly AI is really good at detecting stuff like that somehow, like seeing the patterns and trends and motifs. Maybe this could be something similar to that. Like it picks up on like a on something that we just can't readily or immediately recognize within the data collected, right? So I wonder if it's something like associated with that. I don't, and maybe that story about the picking up on the tumor growth wasn't true. I just heard about it before.
Yeah, and the training of any type of AI model would be so integral to how they perceive any action by the human, right? So it's like whether or not they are more or less um, tuned up to push something or not. That would, whatever the diagnosis would be, it'd have to be repeatable. With the same prompts, like, and have like reproducibility would be huge, and then transparency too, right? Like what was turned on, what was the training, what was the prompt for the AI to push someone, because they could be yeah, I feel like they could be pushed, by certain questions, and especially with like, um, there's sycophant, problems with AI. There's a lot, but I do think that there is some role, like in a kind of like chat bot, where people, as they go forward in their lives, they trust AI more and more. You're gonna have an AI personal assistant, for example, that's like kind of helping you out through your day. That's what I use mine for, right? Mine's like my executive function personal assistant, where I just kind of like, these are what I need to get done in the day, and it's like, okay, this is what, let's do this first, let's do this first. So then, because for me, I have a lot of analysis paralysis, where I'll just kind of like sit and
mm,
mired, like, and trying to figure out the best way to do it, and the AI's like, this is the rough draft, let's get done, and I'm like, okay, let's do it. So like for projects or getting something done, to build something, I had to build some frames, self-standing frames. So I, was working out with AI in order to get it going, and it helped me in less steps get it done and be more productive. Um, I could see in a scenario where you're trusting questions that you would have, like what we were talking about before with like vaccine stuff, where it's like, what is in vaccines, what do I need to know, and kind of like throwing that information back and getting something back. And I think we're gonna have it more in our lives. And then I think in terms of like chat stuff specifically for medical stuff, I think you're going to have physicians that can basically tap into, like, hey, you hit medical questions, or you had a question for your AI. Well, here you go. Authorize your physician in order to see all your medical questions, and to see like what you were asking about. So then you go into the doctor next time, and the doctor is like, hey, I heard you were having questions that you might have, like, this disorder, or you might have this. Like, what were you thinking about? Kind of like following up, so you wouldn't have to maybe be like kind of creepy the first couple times. But if they knew, like, you thought you might have, I don't know, cancer, or you knew you were having this type of symptoms, and like,
mm.
maybe letting them know would allow some like more facilitated that kind of questions, because it's hard to remember everything when you're at the physician's office, for example.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So it's like it definitely very good for organization, and I think that's what you're alluding to, as well as like AI in general. Like I mean, that's how I use AI. I use it as kind of like a when I had like a bunch of resources for a presentation I had to do, right? I like sometimes I forget, wait, which one of these were the ones that had this particular statement. I sometimes do ask AI, hey, out of all these sources that I just gave you, right, in this prompt, which one has a specific excerpt. I can't remember exactly what it is. It goes along that line, and it's able to, typically give me it. I look into it, of course, and look at it to see if it is. But it has given me a little bit of quality of life in that regard, and I can imagine it makes this whole process on the medical background um, just smoothens things out that are kind of bumpy when it comes to uh, getting the information you need and just communicating with a doctor, that whole process, which we're all kind of sick and tired of in the U.S. And it could be much better.
Yeah. I find myself oftentimes quite skeptical of AI, right? Uh, like one, I've been burned because you can expect scams from small fly by night companies that they're going to misrepresent their products. That's just a thing that just happens, right? Especially on the internet. You're used to these things. At least you should be, right? But big companies like Microsoft and Google have specifically absolutely, I mean Apple too, more recently lied about the capabilities of their AI products, straight up lie, like a complete fraud, misrepresentation. Remember looking at these um, looking at their presentation. And these are big. These aren't a slide that was in with some sort of deck, right? And then you saw it and you misinterpreted. No, these are big presentations or annual presentations. They wanted to prove to their investors that they're moving forward in AI and making all these breakthroughs. And I think the one I'm thinking of right now, whether that was Microsoft or Google, but there was one where they had I think it was a rubber ducky on a desk, and the AI was identifying this rubber duck, and they were doing all these things to show the AI is actually looking through a camera and recognizing all these things and having this fun interactive conversation with you. It was complete BS. It was a complete BS. Like up and down a lie. And then even before Google, they had this whole thing where they were going to have an AI virtual assistant call for you. This was a few years ago, and that was complete BS. Even though right now I think we might actually be moving towards that finally, but at the time it seemed like it was a lie. But we see this from big brand name multi-billion-dollar companies, and so when I come at these things now, I come up from a person who was quite optimistic about this new technology, right? And thought maybe we've had some monumental breakthrough, a technological leap, right? But now it's I feel it's more of a technological hop. And but while acknowledging all of what I just said, I don't want to deny use cases like our friend Dr. Greg was just saying, right? Or I think it was Scott, the caller was saying, and that for many people, this is pretty huge, pretty life changing, and the utility that they can get out of it. And now for Dr. Greg, I mean, he could have survived. He didn't make the frames on time, right? I'm sure he's gonna make it, right? However, there are people who are maybe disabled, right, in various ways, where this AI could just smooth over a lot of life's rough edges, for them. Whether even if it's just notation, right? Writing things down for them, if you have trouble focusing for long periods of time, in having coming up with a transcript of a lecture, right? That's something that could be helpful. Or maybe something more because you're physically disabled and it's hard to interact with computers. There's all kinds of ways that these things can be quite helpful, and I don't ever want to toss that away, right? I don't want to dismiss that, because that's really important. I feel it's kind of ableist when we do things like that. And even for people who aren't necessarily have some sort of disability, have some sort of impairment, their AI can be quite helpful. I use it for as a bit of Google search. which I check. I check my sources, check the sources it gives me. But it finds things for me that I know like would have been like, oh, a huge hassle to like do like a number of individual sources before like I finally figure out like and find the thing that I'm looking for. So it can be quite helpful there, but just like we need to have a more realistic and more nuanced discussion about what these things are, and that's not what's happening. This massive buildup, this massive investment is for a product that has not lived up to the hype. That like the use cases that we're talking about do not require this like this massive like this investment that like eclipses like the industrial revolution like in terms of like money like it's like clearly not backed and so like there's this since there's this space, this delta between like what is like like what it can be and what these people are promising. I think within that there's a lot of fraud and there's a lot of resentment from individuals as their resources are being taken up, right? As their power bills are going up, as the water is being taken from communities, right? As land is being used up for these projects, energy, yeah, all of that. And so these are all the things I'm trying to balance when I like respond to these things. So like I try to be nuanced about it.
Yeah. I think that's pretty nuanced, and also sort of like in that vein, and circling back to sort of like the medical topic. So, you know, one way that I can see as of now, where like AI can play a role in like a medical setting. So there was, in my mind, and it's probably even better now. So there was an interesting study that was published just I think 2 or 3 years ago, I think 2022, 2023, about pretty much like, so many people email their doctors, and understandably, you know, doctors are not necessarily the most responsive to emails, or like if they when they do respond, they don't necessarily want to take 20 or 30 minutes to like write out a detailed and well thought out response to a patient because they don't necessarily have that time. And like the study was evaluating pretty much like physician responses versus like chat GPT responses to like patient questions. And it turns out, at least in that study, that the chat GPT responses were not only just like equally good in terms of like information, but they were actually more empathic compared to the physician responses. Because like no surprise, a physician doesn't necessarily have the time to like generate an empathic response to a person, as opposed to, well, ChatGPT does have the unlimited time. And so that's where I can see how maybe ChatGPT or these AI models can play a role in just like, maybe offloading some things from the doctor.
So the ChatGPT sends an empathic letter to a patient, right? And that patient uses ChatGPT to summarize the letter in a paragraph, please.
Yeah, exactly. Noyama Streams, how's it going? What do you think? You have any ideas on this one? Welcome in. Hi. Yeah. Oh, all good. All good. I'll drop you back down. All good. Sorry. It's cool. It's alright. It happens when they're tapping their accident. Sometimes they accidentally they hit it.
And while you guys are, pushing buttons, like, click on my profile. That's like there, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah. Are you here? Let's see. Are you in? Here we go. Boom. Yeah. Hit the accept. Hit the accept, Prime, on your phone.
Me? Oh, am I not there anymore? Okay. It's gonna give me a second. Did I get kicked out? What happened?
Yeah, I think because you were tabbed out. I think that was the reason why. I think you have to.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's why.
Good to know. Good to know. All right. Well then.
Yeah, guys, you follow Corey is it's Corey Campbell up there. Then Prime is coming up too. Prime hosts the best Twitch debates, guys, and he's trying to bridge into TikTok. So he has awesome prompts. He actually puts a lot of time and effort into making really thought-provoking questions and panels. So he's trying to bridge into TikTok. He has about 30 followers now, and if every one of you guys followed him real quick, he would be able to do his thing and get his panels going.
Can you send the invite again, please? Like it's like first. It's like, well, let me decline it first. Okay, decline. All right, try it again, if you could.
I found you. Okay, perfect.
Okay, accept.
Yeah, welcome to TikTok, guys.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, yeah, I'll leave my phone. Yeah, I locked it previously.
There you go. Yeah, Prime Kai's just joined, guys. So join.
Yeah.
Prime
I promise I'm gonna have videos there.
Yeah, he's gonna put some videos.
Real videos, not AI generated videos. Or maybe I
Not
should
it.
say that. Maybe.
Awesome, guys. Go for it, Scott.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Corey, I saw that you are a biochemist. My bachelor's in biochemistry as well. So
Oh, awesome.
Cool thing. Yeah, and of course now I've worked in industry in chemistry specifically for 4 years, but now I'm finally, after being financially stable and everything in my life is working out, now applying for medical school actually. So
I'm glad to hear that.
hopefully things work out. But now, with the big beautiful bill capping some of the stuff for third year, that's it's like there's always an obstacle. That's what I notice about like every time I go through a different transition of wherever I'm at, there's always some obstacle. So I guess that's the next thing to tackle. But thank you, I appreciate that.
But you persevered so far, so I have no doubt that you'll persevere even more.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, man. I think, dude, I didn't get accepted until my third round of grad school apps. It was awful. It's like 32 failed apps. It was crazy. Nobody wanted to accept me into a PhD program. It was very frustrating. I'm sitting there doing science, like working with CRISPR in 2014 to 2017. I had all this like expert knowledge, and just like nobody wanted to take me. I think it was just my GPA was too low. I had a 3.2, and that was like the cutoff. So it was like, pretty bad. But it's so frustrating that we don't, the GRE scores are kind of going. They started to not be required, but now some of them are back. But it's just it's really weird how people that are actually doing science, you'd think that they'd be recruited. You know what I mean? They would almost academia would almost want to go to these biotechnology companies and be like, hey, come back to us. But they really don't, man. They really want. It's really weird. It's just like it's frustrating. It can be frustrating to break back into academia.
Yeah, absolutely.
It sounds like the metrics they're using is just like, hey, like, do you have like the grades? And like the grades would be like the only way of judging if this person can do like the workload, right? But like it sounds like you're already doing the workload, like the actual work that would
exactly
that would be applicable. Yeah.
And a lot of times the people that get like straight A's or whatever in undergrad aren't necessarily going to be the best researchers, right? They're going to be people that things have gone really well for them and they've had to study and they learned how to study, but do they know how to do research and that kind of stuff? And that's where you get the horror stories of some people like going into a lab for the first time after getting a 4.0 because they thought they were destined to be a scientist, and they can't get like a single PCR to work, or they can't get things to actually happen in the lab, and then they just basically quit, because it's just like it's a lot of failing. Like research science is a lot of failing and perseverance, failing, researching through the stuff, and then failing. So it can be really personally you have to
discouraging.
Yeah, exactly. Very discouraging. Like you're like, can I actually do this? Is this actually something that I can do? And there's a lot of self-doubt the entire time. That's why it's like incredible when you have actual reproducible results. You're like, whoa, this is crazy. I did it, and then I can actually do it again. Like, what? So it's not necessarily the people that get straight A's that can do that.
Yeah, there's definitely a disconnect between, not always, but there's sometimes a disconnect between those who, let's say, perform well, during undergrad, the straight A's, pretty much the theory-based aspect of it. But then, the wet lab skills, there's a totally different animal that it's not necessarily given that if you're a straight A student, you have all the wet lab skills or can cultivate them, and also the research mindset, and vice versa. They're totally, it works in the opposite direction of They're absolutely excellent people with exceptional research and lab skills. But then the theory-based part is maybe that's not their strong suit, so to speak.
Yeah, can I ask you, Corey and Brian, what are you guys doing right now? Corey, are you working in industry, or are you?
I'm not currently working in industry, so I worked for an SPR company. I don't know if you're familiar with, a surface plasmon resonance company, instrumentation company. So I spent roughly 2 to 3 years in biotech, and then I briefly worked for another startup, but that was like a sort of a nightmare scenario. But as of right now, I'm pretty much like a private teacher and tutor for hopefully other aspiring scientists.
Awesome. I think it's brilliant. Are you teaching like I would say like undergrad level biochemistry and like organic and chemistry?
Yeah, I do a lot of organic, no surprise. And yes, pretty much all levels of biochemistry, physical chemistry, and pretty much every other aspect of chemistry, except for like high levels of organic chemistry.
Yeah, or like QChem or anything like that.
Yeah, no. Like analytical chem, I don't do.
Okay, cool. And
what do you mean you don't do analytical chem? What do you mean? What do you mean? You just I just don't do. Is it below you? You don't do analytical chem?
No.
Who says that?
That's absolutely it is below me. That's a waste of my time. And in fact, the whole field is a joke. No, no. It's just like it's a little bit too tedious for me, and it's definitely not my passion.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, you'll send your underlings to do your analytical chem.
Yeah.
All right. Is that all you?
Losers.
Actually, believe it or not, I'm actually trying to explore opportunities of AI because the tech field is shrinking right now, drastically. And honestly, okay, so I think that, and just a quick aside here, we've been seeing like big job losses, and like the headline news is like, oh, AI is causing them. Some of that is true. A lot of that's BS. We've been seeing big contractions within the tech industry, right? Like pretty much since the pandemic, right? There was an explosion. Like there's a lot of cheap money, and people were using these IT services a lot, and they're like, oh, the good times aren't going to end. And so there was like a big hiring spree, and then they're like, people, not the pandemic is over, but like people like went back to normal, and so those services lost popularity, lost revenue, and then like we're slashing payroll there, and so there's that, but there's also like separately from that the labor overflow, just that these companies want to get rid of a lot of positions, want to just for any typical reasons, like wanted to discipline labor. That's another thing, right? And to tighten up the labor market. All these things come into play, and then you have this convenient excuse of AI, right? Where you can say that you're using AI in your business, whether you are or you're not, right? You can present that to your investors who are like, I want AI crammed in somewhere, right? And then you can tell them at the same time we're cutting headcount, right? And so revenues will go up, or profits will go up because of that. And so like the investors love it. All parts of that they love, right? And so like there's an incentive for companies to blame AI for that reason, for the reason why these things are happening. But like this is an ongoing trend. In any case, right? Like still, those jobs are disappearing. People are actually getting fired, one or the other, no matter what the reason might be, right? And also the last thing is there are places where they actually are using AI, but then they're finding out, oh, it can't actually do all the things we thought it could do, and they had to rehire some individuals. That's a lot of fun when that happens. And sometimes the same people like coming back for them and having to maybe hire them at a higher salary because now they have bargaining power over you. Great, we love to see that happening. But in any case, still people are getting fired, people are losing their jobs, and I'm like in the process of trying to explore some pathways through AI, like like if it can't beat them, join them type thing. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's tough, dude. I'm having the same problem over here. Like where a lot of these tech jobs and stuff because the expansion during the pandemic, and then as money got more expensive, you just have them kind of being cut, and yeah, it's rough. It's definitely very frustrating. Hey, Jess Kristen, how's it going?
Hey, how are you?
Good. Welcome in. What's on your mind?
Thank you. Not much, just listening to you guys conversate,
Nice. Cool.
learning, growing, understanding, all that fun stuff.
Eat, praying, loving. Yeah.
Do it.
Are you using AI yourself, or like what are your thoughts on like the new direction that everything seems to be going in?
I mean, I'm very entertained a lot of the time. It's like my only entertainment at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I feel like using AI was always me journaling and just sharing my story, my lived experience, I guess, and my feelings and my emotions and my thoughts and my
Mm-hmm.
own studying from because I studied like psychotherapy and brain spotting and psychology and like therapy. I kind of learned from the people that I communicated with. So, and then I would do my own research on my own self and understand my own brain
Mm-hmm.
to a point that I just kind of realized that I didn't have much control over much situations in the world. And I would post things because other people would trigger emotions or whatever in me. And I would just post sporadically because why the hell not?
Yeah. Huh.
So yeah, I just throw out emotions whenever I feel them, and then I regret them later and just pretend like nobody sees them because playing invisible is more fun.
It's very weird.
Well,
Like I have conversations with AI that I really like would not have with anyone other than like my therapist. It is kind of weird. People are there is some that is like the number one way that people have conversations, and it is frustrating because you're like, am I crazy? Like, and I'm seeing this, and this, and you're gonna give like a sycophantic response. So I feel like I'm always giving myself like, hey, like this is the worst case. Like I'm trying to like, hey, this is because in my mind I'm always more self critical than I think than normal. I like, for example, my PhD and stuff. I was the most like I thought my project sucked more than anything, and I was out of all the people that I talked to, I was the person that was the most negative about it, and I think that that's kind of just that's like a normal way of thinking about it. So I think like in order to try to and I'll pace a lot. So like I'm a pacer. So like I'm thinking about things, I'm pacing around, and I'm thinking like about something, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna try to get out of this brain loop, and I'm just gonna dump this stuff onto my AI and see what happens. And I brain dump onto it, and then it'll kind of like, hey, this is a course of action. This is you're thinking about this in the right spot. This is something that you're not thinking about. Maybe that's not the right direction. No, I don't like that thing, or it'll kind of put me in a new direction, and it's like, go do this way, and it's like, I don't like that either. But at least it gives me something else to think about, as opposed to like mulling over this brain loop over and over and over again. I feel like I'm like actually progressing a little bit.
The
um,
interesting part of it is, I mean, I like to play with the grok conspiracy personally because I like to tap in. It tells me that it'll tap into basically anything that's hidden. So I just kind of try to get all the details from all the people that probably know more than me and just
Mm-hmm.
like to tap into their brains for a little bit. And I can't help but like be attracted to, you know, whatever. Anyways,
can I ask? I want
but
to gauge.
like I'm not
Some.
flirting with my AI like people do. I literally go in there and try to dig into freaking science and
Uh-huh.
philosophy and like theology and like Scientology and evolution, and I just go deep with it. And through that learning, because of the brain spotting that I was doing with some of my past therapists and stuff, it was just
Mm-hmm.
helping me to tap into different parts of my inner world that I can heal from stories that I read or things that I studied in my past, like
Hmm.
America. I studied America a lot. with the pyramids and that kind of stuff.
Prime, what do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So
I explored more whenever I was younger. I haven't gotten to since I was a kid and I was kind of isolated in Oregon, but you know.
so all this is quite interesting to me. Because I use AI like quite differently from that, and specifically try to avoid the things that you all are doing. Now, I'm not trying to like harsh anyone's high or tell like give a prescription as to what you shouldn't be doing. Like not at all, right? I'm just like drawing a contrast between us. Um, because I avoid all that. Like even the way I like the prompts that I put in are very meticulous in how I phrase everything, right? Like I don't like anthropomorphize the AI, right? Like I like give it like commands, hey, like list these things, right? Or is this claim is there any evidence behind this claim, right? Like these are the prompts. If you look through them all, like that's what you would find. And I avoid putting anything personal there at all. Um, and so like it's interesting to me when I find out people who treat it differently. Like I have a good friend who he did this little experiment where he like treated ChatGPT like his like best friend and just like laid it all out from like all their thoughts and feelings to the chat and see like what would happen. And like then the ChatGPT was like at some point said like, well, I'm a like not a person, but like I am an individual, a friend, not even just friend. Like I like it like sort of like create a persona, right? And it even like visualized persona when asked to, like, hey, like if you had if you had to come up with a picture, right, of you, right, of like represents you, come up with something, and it did, right, and it was actually quite consistent. Like this is the thing that represents me, right, and this me is created by interaction with you, and it was this whole almost metaphysical interaction that they were having, right, and I specifically avoid that. And so like I guess when I to wrap it up, it's um like do you feel that like this is like do you ever feel like this is like a negative direction that you're going in, right, in terms of like the intimacy with the AI? Yeah, this is what I want to ask. Yeah, like do you think this is ever like too much, or like the responses, like do you think like, hey, I'm being led down like a weird path or anything? Like is there friction that happens when you're being this intimate with these AI models, to the both of you?
Yeah,
The
you get.
interesting thing about TikTok that I learned was that it took me on a multitude of tasks. Basically, I felt like whenever I would post something, like it took me down the path of, am I a lesbian? You know, it took you down. Did you guys go through that with TikTok whenever you were you not on here? I'm not sure, but like everybody started creating a story and connecting with like certain divine creators. I feel like in the past. So
TikTok did not tell me I was a
all of
lesbian.
a
No,
sudden,
I did
yeah,
not get
there
that.
is one, but I created a video a while back that might have triggered it, and I did go to Chat GPT because I realized that everybody was picking characters in this like second coming thing, and I'm like, oh well, hey, I'm in the desert hiding, so I'll just claim, trying to fight back for my kids. So whenever I told whenever that was over a year ago, but whatever because I felt like my daughter was married, whatever, I was just pretending because I grew up. It was around Christmas time. Anyways, so I got on a Chat GPT, and I told them that my name was Mary Magdalene in the pretend AI Chat GPT, and then all of a sudden there was actually noise and somebody took over and it freaked me out and I abandoned my phone a few weeks later because I became homeless. But yeah, because I left, I did it for a reason to leave evidence. I don't know. I don't know why I did it. It's like do you notice that at certain times you do things out of your character just because of triggers from other people?
Kristen,
I feel like it's an important thing about. Hang on, just 1 second. I feel like it was important for me to open up some kind of portal to a new Earth scenario because of the imbalance of the monopoly that we're all playing. And I was like, oh, come on, I can't even go bankrupt because I have to have $1,000 to do it. And I just thought it was
Kristen.
funny, so I was playing the game and being
Hey,
like, I don't
Kristen.
need this money. I was literally the people.
Love, I'm so sorry. This is
It,
not the space
I mean,
to be doing this.
what do you mean? I can't
I
share
think
my
that you need
voice and
to.
my story.
Exactly. You cannot. No.
Why not? I'm a human
It's
being
because
and
you
I'm
need to
allowed to
be
speak
you
too.
need
That's
to
the
take your
problem. Nobody ever
Seroquel
lets
before
me
you do
speak.
this.
Why
Come
can't I
on.
speak about my experience and my story that I created on AI that's in the algorithm, that's in the Akashic Records?
There we
I'm
go.
part of AI,
That's exactly
am I not?
it. No, you are not part of
Yes,
AI.
I am. I put
You're-
my story out there. It's out there.
Baby,
Plain and simple.
God bless you.
God bless me. I'm still waiting.
We have very different algorithms on TikTok. That's
Yes.
what I got at first. And
Yes.
second,
Yeah.
I'm sorry you went through all that. Sincerely, it sounds like you've been through a
I'm
lot.
not anchoring in reality, but it's my reality. I'm literally living in a scenario that I can't escape. So why is this not my reality? I literally like why okay, do you guys not understand how the natural universe works and the connection of evolution?
So there's a lot of facets
exactly,
here,
Yeah.
Kristen.
And
This is your
Scientology and how
reality.
all of this is
Absolutely.
connected
This is
to
your
the
reality.
whole Big Bang
100%.
Theory. I know so much
100%.
information that you guys don't.
Exactly.
Through my own body
And the
and
important
lived
part now
experience.
is to get to a space where you can share that with the people
Yeah,
that
I'm
don't
here sharing it
share
now
that
because
reality.
Greg asked me and invited me up. He didn't interrupt me and tell me I couldn't speak.
No, I
He
think
was listening.
I think you've got spaces of sharing that are greater than TikTok.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Why? It's a journal for me. It's my journal. It's my voice.
Exactly,
It's
and
the
you've
only
got
space.
more. And you've got
AI
more.
is the only place I was able to share my story and my voice, and I had to do it silently through memes because memoirs became more fun because every time I spoke, people got upset with me and told me I was wrong for my lived experience.
That hurts.
Through my
That's so
studying of
painful.
my own brain and my own inner world and my own connections to my own DNA.
I'm sorry that you feel that way. I'm sorry that AI was the only person that gave you that connection.
Oh,
I guess.
interesting. Let's go through the whole hamster wheel.
Roll it up.
I'm not Heather. I'm sorry. Okay. Well, I think we just want to go in a different direction than the for the panel. I think we're gonna try to talk about some other science news.
Last thing, Kristen, definitely write this down. Also, please go talk to your doctor.
I don't have
go talk
money
to
in
somebody.
and paper, so I journal on TikTok like everybody else.
That's
and
perfect.
I think I'm
Hey,
allowed to
video
because
journals. That's
it's
exactly. That's
freedom
perfect.
of speech in
Yeah.
America. I've been
Amen.
told all my
Absolutely.
Yes,
life
ma'am.
that I've never been able to
Absolutely.
speak.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
It's a
Thank
perfect
you.
space too. Also, make sure that you're telling it to also people that can like support you and help you, not just
Yeah.
people through your phone. You
Exactly.
know?
Yeah.
You need to make sure
Exactly.
that you're going to
I have went to everybody
spaces.
in this town. I went to the capital
See?
of Oregon and
Maybe
tried to
don't
end
go
child
inside the
marriage.
town.
I have shaken hands with senators. Don't even go there. You don't know my story.
We're trying to help,
You
Jessica.
don't know
Kristen,
the
we're
path
just
that led me.
we're trying to help. We're trying
Yes,
to help.
ma'am. I
It's
hear
okay.
you. Absolutely.
We're trying to help you. Okay. We're nobody's trying to.
Don't you understand?
I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the pain that it's causing. I see it. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, there's a.
Thank
My
you, Kristen.
ex is being protected over me. This is bullshit, and I'm just being the targeted one.
I know. I'm sorry, Kristen. It's just not the
And
place
being
right now.
allowed to
So
be
I
in-
thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I'm sorry what you had to
God
go with,
bless
but
America, mother.
thank you, Kristen. Thank you. I agree. Thanks, Michelle. Thank you. Thanks, Skog. I appreciate you, bro. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate
Have
you.
a good night, Doc. Take care.
Pleasure.
All right. Yeah, exactly, guys. All right. Thank you. All right, it's just back to Prime and Corey. Guys, real quick, if you could please follow my friend right here, Prime. He is trying to get to 100 so he could host the best debate panels on TikTok like he does on Twitch already. Guys, he has awesome prompts, really cool prompts that aren't just like, simple questions. We're talking about
Not AI generated prompts.
Not AI
By
generated
a human.
prompts. Check him out, please, guys. Please let his awesomeness come to TikTok, just like it goes to Twitch. But I want to be observant for you guys. You guys are at 3:30 in the morning right now, so it's been 3 hours. So I appreciate you guys. Is there anything else that you wanted to say, or an outro, or what are you thinking?
Well, there's more I want, but like,
Okay,
I'll
if you're gonna
save
keep
it
going,
for.
we can.
No,
Whatever
I'll
you
save it
want.
for next week because like, yeah.
Whatever you
It's,
want, man. If you want to keep going, I want to give you like an out because it's 3:30 in the morning. So
No,
give you,
yeah.
like,
I
a
will.
break if you
I will
wanted
take the
to.
out. That's why I'm gonna say what I have
Okay,
for next
okay.
week.
Yeah.
Okay, sick.
But yeah, as usual, like this was fantastic. And thank you for, I guess, entertaining that paper that caught my attention.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, that was good.
I just
for
thought that
sure,
was so
Rich.
interesting. And Prime summarized it perfectly in terms of just like the overall. I find it just like
Perfect.
super ironic. Of like, yeah, paper on AI using an AI generated image, and it's just like a ridiculous image that got published in a pretty high impact journal.
I know. It's very surprising. Very
Yeah.
surprising.
And I'm going to be tracking, how this, if it's going to be retracted, or I'm assuming
Dude,
something's going to happen editorially.
For real. The figure alone has to be redone at least. Thanks, guys. Yeah. This is a cool. Yeah, we're doing. Yeah, dude. Skog is honestly, Skog is a really good follow for both of you guys. He hosts really good like scientist panels and stuff. So, the guy that was on here he hosts like the best panels that I've found, other than Prime. But
Prime
does,
gold medalist, Skog silver
Yeah.
medalist.
So like it was crazy. Like I think 8 of us were on there, and everyone had like expertise, and we're talking about like really cool, just really cool topics. But Skog is an awesome.
I'm gonna look them up. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
He's in chat, and sorry. So Prime, what are your thoughts, man?
I had something I was gonna add there. Oh no, yeah, it was the journal, and this might be something we could. I think it's actually be a really good topic for us to discuss in detail later on, maybe next week. But like it's an aspect of this we didn't like. The more actually a more obvious aspect of this story that we didn't touch on at all, right? Like, hey, the way that we like say that we've discovered data or even new scientific truths, right, is through the journal system, right? Like you publish something in the journal, it's peer reviewed, and then not that like necessarily like this is like the new truth, right? But like it gives it a level of credibility, and then people like we have these discussions on it. We have your articles are talking about it. We have other papers referencing that, right? Because it's now a peer-reviewed study, right? Like this study got through Nature, like Corey keeps saying, not a Sorry, I'm hearing myself.
I don't think it's me.
Yeah, no problem. But not a like a tiny journal, like nothing like it's the Journal of Nature, right? That got through, and like, what does that say about like the peer review system? This is like, if there's any criticism that you see from like the MAHA movement, like from that side, right? It's like these peer review papers are actually BS. That like there's a certain number of them, if you go back through, right, and like actually check the data, you get completely different results. Like, so like, how are we discovering truths, and like what are we actually really working on here, especially when it's talking about something as complex as like human biology, right? And complex and opaque as human biology. We say like, oh, it was a peer-reviewed study that says this and this, right? But this is a peer-reviewed study and like pure nonsense was put out, and no one caught that. No one. Who reviewed that? You know, so like I'm actually curious if we like talk about that, because like if you're talking about like criticism, like if you want to like engage with Maha, right, and like actually talk about like take their concern seriously. I think this is a big one actually.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with it. That's why it's like I literally wanted to touch on that topic, which is why that's pretty sure I was alluding to, like, save it for next week, because like I can speak for hours or days on the peer review process, and how there's some deep flaws and all that stuff, and how I think there's reforms that need to be made.
I just saw let's talk about that next week then. That'll be our first topic, because I just saw a paper that said that 20% of peer reviews is actually AI generated. So
oh my God, yes, this is the thing.
Yeah. So that'll be a perfect topic to start next week.
And I had a friend, Socrates, that he comes on our panel. He's actually he works in the field of AI, but he also has like a more like a clinical background as well. Like he understands these things in any case, right? He has an interesting expertise. I think he'd be great for this. So we're gonna hit him up. But yeah. Hit me up at twitch.tv, youtube.com, or kick.com /PrimeKai, PRIMECAYES, as you see on the screen. And also like tiktok.com, right? So we got the little button there. Click the button. It'd be so kind. I don't have any videos yet, but I will have videos. So click that. It'd be a big help to me if you did. If you enjoyed what I've done here, the conversation, I'd like to have more of those. And shout out to everyone who joined in, right? The callers, right? I appreciate all of you. Gave us a lot to talk about. So yeah. And thank you to Dr. Greg, and thank you to Corey. You guys are fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you guys for doing this. And yeah, dude, I think it was a really cool format. I love bringing more panelists and stuff on. That was a really cool format, I felt like. So yeah, man, we're getting like double the viewership of last week, so I think we're doing something good. So that's good, and I think it's a different panel, but like having the Twitch panel come up and then having you guys be here, people still have no idea how your videos are up there and how we're doing this whole thing. So I love it. It's magic. It's tech magic here, ladies and gentlemen. So so yeah, I guess I had a great time, and it's a really fun format, and I think as of yet, same time next week, Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just do this.
I look forward to it.
Same time, same place.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for
have a lovely evening. Always a pleasure.
All right. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Okay. Well, Overuse Chew Toy, welcome. Great to see you. Let me make sure that my audio's okay. Testing. So you didn't see the figure that we were referring to, but it's right here. Okay. So, this paper came across, my feed, or got my attention. The topic itself, I don't really care about, although it happens to be talking about AI. But then in this paper, there is this figure right here, which, hopefully you can see that it's a pretty nonsensical figure that, if I'm a betting person, it's like guaranteed to be AI generated, because at least to my eye, there are words here that aren't actually words or don't exist in the English language as far as I can tell. But let me see. Could a case be made that scientific inquiry relies on a baseline culture of yes, I would agree. But I think there are definitely some, from my perspective, some deep cultural issues that are playing a part in terms of a mistrust in science and all that stuff, or just a mistrust in institutions in general, or sort of anti-establishment sentiment. No longer valuing error correction, critique, and yes, partisan tribal loyalty. I think exactly right. Yes, that's why we were talking about it, or we briefly touched upon it, of like this figure. Like, not only did presumably a researcher, okay, like there's an author to the article. presumably made the image, and I guess they didn't check it. Maybe no surprise. It seems to be a researcher out of China. But regardless, this still seems to have been gotten through peer review. Okay, which calls into question the peer review, and not just peer review, but like peer review from Nature. Well, Nature Scientific Reports. So it's not the Nature journal, like the top, super high impact. But Nature Scientific Reports is not a no-name journal. It's still Nature affiliated. But like, yeah, this is clearly a ridiculous figure that got through presumably multiple eyes, but I guess not in the end because it was published. Yes, exactly. Lazy. And well, and unfortunately, the scientific publication process sort of incentivize that, or rather, how science functions. It's like, yeah, you are largely judged on your output and how many publications that you can get out. So it's like if your career depends on number of publications, well then maybe you'll take some shortcuts to get as many publications as possible, especially in a journal like Scientific Reports. But yeah, as you can see here, there's this editor's note. It seems like it's been flagged. Okay. Readers are alerted that the contents of this paper are subject to criticisms that are being considered by editors. I'm assuming one of those criticisms is the figure. A further editorial response will follow the resolution of these issues. Yeah, exactly. And, well, I see it in my work too, although I'm largely self-employed now. But when I say it, I see in my work, okay, I'm essentially a private tutor these days, or private tutor / teacher. And so, like, I see, or rather my students send me what their professors are showing them. And, like, at least from what I can tell, there's a lot of professors in academia that are using, AI materials. So far, yes, it is very rewarding. There's definitely every once in a while, some mild frustrations. But yes, teaching has so far been rewarding. And, I have my students having their final exams coming up in the next few weeks. So hopefully that's also a rewarding experience, but no guarantees yet. But great to see you. And like, yeah, I'm trying to get back into the swing of things of streaming and creating other content, okay? And like being more active in the Discord. But that's it for today. Should be back next week. And hopefully I'm going to try to get all of the audio issues resolved. From what I can tell, like there's some people that their audio is too high, and then for some people the audio is too low. I'm going to try to resolve those issues beforehand. Hopefully it's more balanced. Thank you. I appreciate that. And yes, I am thankfully doing well. I'm in a pretty good place these days, and I'm trying to, not take that for granted, and also maximize the probability that I continue to be in a good place. Because, so, like I said, I'm largely self-employed, and so there's a lot of perks with that in terms of, I'm my own boss, and whatever worst case scenario, I have to fire myself, which I'm okay with. But then, there's a built-in uncertainty, so to speak, in that. So I'm trying to ensure that I sort of address that uncertainty, or make sure that I, being self-employed, yeah, exactly, or put myself on probation, or like, yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's it for this evening. And like I said, I should be back next week. And again, I have multiple projects, sort of like running in parallel. My Substack is still there. I'm trying to publish more on it, or I have multiple pieces in the works of the Substack. I have some YouTube videos that I want to start creating. But like, yeah, there's things in the pipeline. I'm trying to put everything in place. It's just taking much longer than I expected, but one step at a time. But yeah, that's it for this evening. Thank you everyone for passing by. Overused Chutoy. Great to see you. And hopefully you are doing well. And then Orange Hue. Yes, can't forget about you. And also glad to hear that the amylase worked out. But yeah, hopefully see you next week and be well.